Good evening. It's Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. May I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Jensen,
Present.
Councilmember Orbach,
Hi, here.
Councilmember Westman,
Here.
Vice Mayor Morgan,
Here.
and Mayor Clark.
Here. May I now get everybody to stand and join me in Pledge Allegiance?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, additions and deletions to the agenda.
Staff has no changes to the agenda this evening.
Great. Brings us to the happy time. Number 3, presentations. Our first presentation is going to be Mayor for the Day. And we have someone special here with us. Why don't you come on up?
If I were mayor of Capitola, what would I do? My name is Lucia Medina Ortiz. I am a fourth grader at SoCal Elementary School. A few days ago, I had the opportunity to go to the O'Neill program. Me and my friends enjoyed it. There were lots of fun activities, but the most fun was when they taught us about echolocation and how marine animals use it to survive. But there was just one problem. There was plastic in the ocean. You may be thinking, why is this such a problem? But it really is, because sea animals use echolocation to survive. This means that when the animal makes a noise, the sound waves travel until it hits something. Then they bounce back to the animal. This is how they know where things are. This works with almost anything, including food, predators, and ships. The problem is it doesn't work with plastic. So these poor animals either get stuck in the plastic or get stuck in it. My idea to solve this problem as a mayor, is to invent a program that would take place every year in both private and public schools. Kids would learn how to clean after themselves and protect the ocean. At the end of the program, students will take a quiz to see what they've learned. The purpose of the program is for kids to remember that living beside the beach is both a blessing but also a responsibility.
Words of wisdom from such a youngster. But before this is all official, you have to sit down and bang the gavel. Right here, on the way. No, 2 times. I just have a certificate of recognition for Lucia Ortiz and for Mayor of the Day, and grateful that you're here with us, and happy to say all my kids went to SoCal Elementary too. So congratulations and well done. Thank you again. Always great to see such smart youngsters. Thank you. We'll have another presentation. This one will be from Second Harvest Food Bank. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Erica Padilla Chavez, and I serve as the CEO of your food bank, Second Harvest Food Bank. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and share a few words with you in terms of the status of your food bank. I also just want to start by thanking all of you for your public service. Challenging times for sure, but we appreciate you and all you do to make Capitola a vibrant and thriving community. So next slide, please. So our mission at the food bank is to build a thriving community. And when I say community, think of the entire county, where everyone has access to nutritious food and essential services, because we do provide other services to support their health and well-being. We really believe that people's health and well-being offers them the opportunity to thrive, whether they be students, senior members in our community, or an adult that's trying to continue to live life. Next slide, please. I hope that in this presentation, I can provide you with some basic understanding of our county's food security network and how we work. I hope that I can give you some insight as to what's happening at the moment with your food bank and how we are working to ensure that people in our community are nourished. I want to give you details on what we're doing to pivot in light of unfortunate situations we're dealing with. And you probably read some recent news about people on CalFresh or food stamp program and what's going to happen in November. And then more importantly, I'm doing these presentations across all city councils and the Board of Supervisors to encourage that as you're entering into discussions about services for your community, that food insecurity become a topic of conversation among your council. Next slide. Quickly, how did we get started? You should feel really proud that the very first food bank in the state of California started here. And it started because of a UCSC club who wanted to ensure that children going to school, and this is way before cafeterias offered breakfast, that they were fed before going to school. And the idea of asking community members to provide food, to provide to moms who were cooking breakfast for their children on paths to school was given to these moms so that the moms could make a bigger breakfast and invite other kids to their table. And that's how food banking started in Santa Cruz County. When I talk about the network, it's important for you all to know that we have a national partnership with Feeding America. Feeding America is our sister organization where we do all of our federal advocacy, and we have a 50-year relationship with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So we do depend on the federal government to send us food through the USDA. At the state level, we have a California Association of Food Banks. There are 41 food banks in the state of California, 202 nationally. So if you're wondering how many food banks exist across our nation, 202, 41 in California. In Santa Cruz County, we have our own county network where we have contractual partnerships with 66, actually we just added another one, 67 partner agencies. And those include Gray Bears, for example, Salvation Armies, a lot of churches. Your local schools are a part of our distribution network. Next slide. How do we get the food out? We have 102 distribution sites throughout the county. Some of these are manned or staffed by the partner agencies I just mentioned, but we provide all the food. So when you hear the food bank, we literally are the bank. We bring in over 13 million pounds of food a year. And then we distribute all of that pound. And from a dollar value, that's over $30 million worth of food. And we distribute that food to agencies like Gray Bears, like your schools, like your churches. And when people line up to get food, it's our food that they're distributing, right? We take our job very seriously because we know that our partner agencies play a very critical role in the communities that they serve. And we want to make sure that they have the food necessary to meet the needs of our neighbors. In Capitola, there are 6 partner agencies. Gray Bears is one of them. Some schools and churches are additionally some of them. And it's important for you to know that the unduplicated count of individuals that we nourish a month is 1,760 people. That's about 20% of your population that we're nourishing on a monthly basis. This slide is very important because I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe what you read in the paper. You probably saw my face in the Sentinel this morning. So yesterday, after a 2-week vacation, I came home to Governor Newsom's announcement that he was deploying the National Guard to help food banks. It's important for you to know that 5.5 million Californians depend on what is the first line of defense against food insecurity, which is your CalFresh program or your SNAP food stamp program. Effective November 1, because of the federal shutdown, those individuals will not be receiving benefits. And we have been asked to be the first line of defense to making sure that 44,000 Santa Cruz residents, Santa Cruz County residents, are nourished. The equivalency of that benefit sum for the month is $6.5 million. So $6.5 million is what we're not going to see coming into our county to nourish our community. I do not have $6.5 million. I am not intending to ask you for money today because we have an activation plan. But I am hopeful that we can settle this shutdown rather soon, or we will be in a very challenging situation. That is the status of where we're at as of today. I actually spent most of my day activating an emergency plan and using a lot of my reserves to purchase millions of dollars worth of food to make sure that people don't go hungry on Thanksgiving month. Right? This is happening probably at the worst time for a lot of our neighbors because we know that the winter months is where jobs, both in agriculture and hospitality, tend to go down, and that's when we have traditionally seen the need go up. It's important for you to know that, but we're going to do everything in our power to make sure and within our resources to nourish people. Next slide. What we have already experienced on top of this new emergency that I'm addressing is that in the spring, we received notification from the U.S. Department of Agriculture that they canceled some of the resources to us. About $1 million worth of food and dollars is not coming to us. So that's an additional $1 million that I need to figure out how to fundraise every year. At the time that I did this presentation, we weren't as a dire situation with CalFresh and SNAP, but you need to know that HR 1 is shifting the way that program's going to work. So even without the shutdown, there's a lot of pressure on food banks. We're becoming, across the nation, the entities that will serve as the first line of food insecurity defense for communities across our country. It's important for you to also know that some legal residents are now barred from accessing CalFresh programming. So if you're here on asylum permission, or you're here because of a special circumstance like you've been a victim of violence, you're no longer eligible for those benefits. In our county, that's about 300 people that will no longer receive those benefits effective whenever the shutdown, because it goes into the law as soon as the government operates. The ripple effect, what you need to know is that we are concerned about the local economic impact to that. A lot of our small merchants accept EBT cards, right? This is part of their foot traffic. You're going to see a lot of small merchants see potentially less foot traffic. We know for sure in November that'll be the case. We are also concerned about the reduced lunch program for our schools. There are some federal funding that our schools receive. There's some impacts there too. So our students will be having to resort. Do you remember the days where your parent had to fill out a big packet and then they had to, those days are coming back. It used to be in the last 5-6 years, it was automatic. If you needed food, you would just get it. We wouldn't make children go through and the families go through the hurdles of applying for it. Now, unfortunately, they're going to have to go through an application process, which means many of them won't apply. Please, next slide. This is a slide, and we're still auditing our last year's financials, so you won't see this. But this is a slide that goes back to, I believe, 2016, and it shows the count of times that a person came to the food bank and the food donation volume to our food bank. So you will see early on, recession, right? We had a very high demand and a very low volume of food. You see COVID spike, right? Then the economy got better, so there was less people in need, right? And businesses were able to contribute a little bit more. And then COVID happened. We ended up having a lot of food available the first year of COVID because a lot of food producers produce food in anticipation of the need. And then when the world shut down, a lot of that food ended up going to food banks. So that's projected there. We now have what I call a crocodile mouth, right? We've got need that is really high and food donations that is really low. And the food donation really low doesn't necessarily mean that our food donors, like our agricultural growers, are not supporting your food bank. They are. It's just that with mechanization and new technology, food producers are able to better estimate how much food they need to grow every year, right? And food banks depend on excess food, right? So they're getting better, right? Because as a company, you want to make sure that you're closing your margins of loss. But what that means to food banks is that we're having to innovate different ways to get food. Next slide. So how are we preparing? So what you need to know is that your food bank has convened leaders from very important systems that support people, including children who are food insecure. So UC Santa Cruz, the school districts, Cabrillo College, we meet monthly. And we are working together to prepare a plan to make sure that all of these systems that are feeding or are caring for individuals that are food insecure have available food for them. We're also addressing the immigration fears. There are members in our community that are fearing accessing any kind of service, not just food. And so we are now doing home delivery for any individual who is unable to attend any of our distribution sites. That includes people who are homebound. We have a lot of seniors in Capitola that receive their food via home delivery. We have a partnership with Amazon, which is wonderful. Amazon delivers food for us, so does DoorDash. So we've established important partnerships with corporate companies that are providing us with very, in the case of Amazon, free service. In the case of DoorDash, very cheap service. It's cheaper to go that way than for me to staff it. We're also leveraging, you need to know that I am optimizing all of our internal operations. I have adopted new technologies to make sure that we're also being as lean as possible at the food bank. We have farmers who are now donating their land, and we send volunteers to go and pick the crop, and that goes out into our food supplies. And we just learned today that there's another farmer that's going to give us acres of land to pick from for the next season, and we're getting to ask now what kind of crop we want planted so that we're picking that crop. It's a great volunteer opportunity, by the way, for everyone. And then we're educating the community about your food bank and how it works. And obviously, we want to encourage your council to be engaged. And there's a lot of ways that you can be engaged outside of resource support. Just talking about what you learned today is a way of engagement. Next slide. Tom Vilsack was the Secretary of Agriculture, if you remember that name, and he is to be credited for a lot of the great programming that food banks still depend on. And I love this quote because I would say that this quote really captures the spirit of who we are. When we work together in a strong community with a shared goal, the goal of making sure everyone is nourished, we can make the impossible possible. And while it is challenging times, I really believe that in Santa Cruz County, if we work together, we will make sure that no neighbor goes unnourished. And that's what I'm here to invite you to do. I'm here to invite everyone who's listening or in the audience you can activate and do something. I know it seems a little daunting right now with all kinds of information coming our way, but we can do something to take care of our neighbors, and you can do it via your food bank. Happy to entertain any questions.
No questions. Thank you for the presentation, albeit sobering. And thanks for all you do.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Bring us to item 4, report out on closed session.
No reportable action was taken.
Thank you. Number 5, additional materials.
Staff received additional materials for this agenda packet. For item 9A, there were 3 emails sent to the City Council after publication. For 9F, 1 email. For item 9G, staff distributed a memo with an updated attachment. For item 9H, 1 email was received after publication. All materials were provided to the council and public before tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Item 6, oral communications by members of the public. Any member wishing to speak will have up to 3 minutes to speak, and please state your name if you'd like it for the record.
Hi, my name is Goran Klapic. I play ball here at JC Park. At the moment, I cannot do that. I'm a little bit injured. I had an injury. I want to talk about something which is on my mind since several years. I talked about that with the police chief, Andrew Daly, back in the days. That there was one time cocaine trafficking going on here when I was doing security for Zelda's on the beach at the front door with my black brother, George. We kept it clean. I hope that things like that don't occur anymore here. People can laugh about me maybe or think that I'm crazy when I'm talking about that. But I was in the army. I've saw stuff overseas. I'm from far, far away. You need to take a 16-hour flight to get to the country where I'm from originally. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.
Thank you. Welcome.
I'm Damon Meyer from Santa Cruz. And I have a subject. It's a request for formal city action regarding RTC communications and property impact. I respectfully submit this request for entry into the public record at the October 23rd, 2025 City Council meeting. The Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission, CTC, has accepted and applied for grant funding for its proposed rail and trail project despite clear legal restrictions governing the corridor through Capitola. The corridor was acquired through State Proposition 116 passenger rail program, which limits its use to passenger rail purposes only, unless that restriction is formally amended by the California Transportation Commission. No such amendment exists. In addition, the consent deed, recorded trust instrument for this corridor specifies that the property is to be used for rail purposes only, and that trails or other non-rail uses are not within compliance of its terms. Despite these restrictions, the RTC's current trail plan crosses both the Capitola trestle within the rail corridor and in other areas departs the corridor entirely, targeting established residential property. This combination, accepting funds, state funds, while advancing an unapproved, non-compliant design, creates serious legal and ethical exposure to all participating jurisdictions. Compounding this, residents of Capitola's Castle Estates have received letters from the RTC citing California Civil Code 846.5, a statute that allows temporary survey access only and provides no authority to remove, relocate, or condemn homes. The language in those letters left homeowners in fear and anxiety, uncertainty, unable to sell, refinance, or relocate their family for medical reasons. They are effectively trapped in real estate limbo, suffering financial and emotional harm without due process or compensation. In one particularly troubling case, a resident who sought clarification directly from the RTC supervising transportation planner Grace Blakely was told that if she remained on the property beyond the stated removal date, she could be arrested. In this statement, made absent any lawful authority or court order, is profoundly unacceptable and underscores the urgent need for municipal oversight and correction. I have formally sent 2 written letters to RTC requesting that it issue letters releasing any claim and interest to the
Thank you, sir,
property.
for your comment. It's 3 minutes.
Madam, may I subject?
Yes, we'll take that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Any further public comment? Seeing no further public comment, I'll bring it to item 7, staff comments.
I think our community development director has a couple updates for us this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to bring you up to date that right now we have a survey live on our main page for 41st Avenue corridor. So looking to get the public interested in that and to please take our survey. And then also there'll be a special planning commission meeting on October 30th to discuss the mall zoning updates. So those are my updates tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further staff comments? All right. That'll bring us to council comments, and I'll start it on this side over here.
I can be brief. I just wanted to mention that I went to the Senior Advisory Council meeting, and one of the things that came out of that meeting is that the county recorder's office has actually started a fraud notification project. And so while there's not a lot of real estate fraud in Santa Cruz County right now, evidently it's quite a growing trend. And so they'll provide a service if you go to the county recorder's website where you can sign up and you would receive any fraud, you would receive an alert if there was any activity going on your property or the title to your property. And so it seems like a great program, and I encourage everyone to do this for your own safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one comment. We have our annual Halloween parade on Sunday. It's been growing in popularity. So there will be a little bit of traffic, but it's a really fun event, really fun costumes, and can get you all into the spooky spirit. So if you want to come down to the village for that, please do.
Over here.
Thank you. Just 3 items. One thing, last week I attended, Think Local First had a get-together in the village, and a big shout out to Josh at Brewtopia and also Anthony from Mijo's Taqueria for bringing the food and some beverages. Many stores also donated money to gifts for raffle ticket, and the benefactor of that event was the Santa Cruz Animal Shelter. A lot of great attendance, and just great to see an event like that be successful down in our village and support a great cause. I also attended the Monterey Bay Air Quality Management District meeting. We got an update on the air toxic program that's ongoing, and we also approved the vehicle emissions grant program, and it was about $1.3 million that was issued out. And so the County of Monterey got $748,000, San Benito got $117,000, and Santa Cruz got $444,000. Mostly that was for electrical, like I said, for electrical charging stations. Most of those grants were, I think the biggest one in Santa Cruz was going up at the university. Also attended RTC under Sarah Christian's leadership. We had a retreat, networking kind of training session that we had with our other fellow commissioners. We have some large decisions coming before us as a commission, and also that are going to affect a lot of people in the county on the rail trail issue that is coming down with the final budgets and analysis that are being done. And it was really good to work with the other commissioners, collaborate together, understand what values are, understand that there's not really an I in the word team, and how to work together. And so it was really great to be a part of that. And then one last thing bounced around, the Women's on Waves event this weekend, which was great to see going on in the village. Lots of participation. It was nice to see. And looked like the waves were great for them. Maybe the mayor could probably elaborate on that one.
Yeah, I just have a couple announcements. I am a part of an ad hoc committee for the Metro to review applications to appoint new members to the Metro Advisory Committee. During my meeting on October 14th, we decided to reopen applications and recruit more Mid and South County representation, which includes Capitola. Applications will open soon, and I encourage any and all residents in Capitola who use the Metro or are passionate about transportation access and how we can make improvements, apply for this opportunity. I think it'll be great if we can also share this on the official City of Capitola website or social media account when the application is available. I also attended the Children's Network Board meeting on October 20th, where we appointed our new chair, Gabriela Triguero, and Vice Chair Jacob Waller. We also received a presentation on the Children and Youth's Bill of Rights number 4, which is access to quality education. And the presentation was given by Vice President of Cabrillo College, Dr. Blanca Sabah, and her expertise and commitment to student access at Cabrillo College really provides valuable content for our kind of ongoing discussion to promote children's well-being. There will be a first ever Children's Network Symposium planned for March 5th in 2026, so stay tuned and I'll have more information while we know more. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the updates. The Halloween parade. Everybody starts lining up at 1:30 right by the back of the police department, and we march through the Esplanade at 2 p.m. My grandson was asking me about it and wants me to dress up as Mayor Humdinger, so maybe I'll come in costume. We'll see. The Women on Waves, yeah, we may not always have sunshine, but we always have waves. It was a great event. Great to see all the women out there. Thank you, everyone, for the comments again, and that'll bring us to item 8, consent items.
I can move the consent calendar.
I'll second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. That'll bring us to item 9, general government public hearings. Item A, the Grand Avenue Pathway.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. It's been about 6 months since we last talked about this issue. We have some new information for you this evening. Here again is the Grand Avenue in its road state in 1972 prior to it being closed for just pedestrian traffic. Next slide, please. So a little bit of background. Again, Grand Avenue, the roadway was closed for vehicular traffic in the 1980s, and the city retained the right-of-way for pedestrian traffic. Since that time, there have been repeated closures and repairs due to ongoing bluff retreat. In 2005, council voted to maintain an 8-foot walkway within the right-of-way as long as that lasts. Between 2017 and 2025, we've had recurring failures resulting in the closure between Oakland and Hollister Avenues in 2017, and then both in 2022 and then again in 2025 between Saxon and Oakland, which is currently closed. Next slide, please. So again, in December of 2023, and then again in February of 2025, we had major storms that caused bluff failure on the pathway between Saxon and Oakland Avenues. So both causing damage to the pathway itself, and then also to drainage nearby. We came to council in April 2025, in which a steering committee of residents was established to evaluate the longevity of the pathway, and then also to commission a geological evaluation of the entire pathway that is from Central to Oakland Avenues. We are here in October 2025. We have completed that assessment. We have done some localized drainage repairs, and then also the steering committee is here and has a presentation to give after staff's presentation. Next slide, please. So here we have the drainage. This on your top left was the drainage prior to damage in this most recent storms. There on the bottom left, you can see where the pipeline has broken off. Over years and many repairs, the pipeline itself has gotten smaller as we've slip lined it to repair it. This repair that we completed here this month, which is on the right side there, included bringing the pipe to its original, I believe, 12-inch. And then also securing it to the bluff side. Next slide, please. So just a little bit of background, and the geologist who completed the report from Pacific Crest Engineering is also here for more technical questions if council has them. Bluff retreat occurs in 2 ways, both from the bottom and from the top. So the blue area on the bottom there is the Purissima bedrock, where the ocean lands and chips away at it. The Purissima collapses, and then the soft part on the top, the marine terrace deposit, falls with those bedrock collapses, but then also erodes at a 38-degree where it's most stable. So it is a recurring failures. The erosion really never stops because once the wave action stops, then you have the erosion up top and it repeats all over again. Next slide, please. And you can see that actually very clearly if you're out in the water. You can see that darker on the bottom is the Purissima bedrock, and then the top is the marine terrace deposit. So you can visually see where this delineation is on the bluff side. Next slide, please. And then also you can see kind of where these cuts are. This is on the bottom near Hollister Avenue during a very low tide, but you can see where wave action has cut into the bottom of that formation. Next slide, please. So 2 approaches were completed to do this analysis. One was that angle of repose, that 38-degree model that we have done several times for this bluff side over the past few years. And then the second way that the estimate was done was through historic photo analysis. So using very specific photos for this purpose, I believe from 1956 all the way up until today, and seeing what that rate of retreat has been. And next slide. In your packet, there were several images. The top image is the whole stretch, and then the the image on the bottom is blown up here right next to Oakland Avenue, where you see those 2 different pink and purple lines representing those 2 different methods of evaluating the bluff erosion. If you go to the next slide, you can see in the dotted red area there is kind of the range we expect it to be within the next 1 to 10 years. Next slide. So from that evaluation, an inland alignment, which an inland alignment would be all the way to the property line of each property, and then a 4-foot pathway, which is what the minimum is for ADA compliance, would be usable for approximately 10 years. At the corners, there's a higher nearer term risk, but we anticipate that a path all the way up to the property line would last around 10 years. Erosion control on the bluff side may retard this a bit, but it would not stop bluff retreat. The only thing that really stopped bluff retreat would be significant armoring of the hillside, which the city did consider many years ago and is also many millions of dollars in planning and may not be able to be permitted at all. Options for extending this pathway for its limited life would be, again, to relocate this pathway and then also consider grading and drainage to prevent runoff of the bluff edge to reduce erosion risk. Next slide, please. So the steps to get to this pathway would be first to complete a topographic survey and to verify kind of the drainage and bluff edge locations to see where they would best be located. Depending on the full scope of what we'd want this project to be, there would be environmental considerations to make, particularly if we wanted to do erosion control on the bluff side. That would need to be something permitted by the Coastal Commission and also would require a SECRA evaluation. The second step after kind of just completing this feasibility step would be do a concept design to develop that alignment, and then an engineered grading drainage plan, and then location of the fencing. Next slide. As far as encroachments goes, they vary from Saxon to Oakland and Central to Saxon. But many of the properties have landscaping within the current roadway right-of-way. Some of it is landscaping. There's some hardscaping in there as well, fencing. All of these things would need to be removed to establish a pathway up to the property line. Next slide, please. After doing a preliminary drawing, again, depending on the scope of the project, we would complete SEQA review. We'd have to address those encroachments and then potentially apply for a coastal development permit. From then, once everything is permitted and gone through environmental review, we'd be able to finalize any plans that we have and then solicit and award a construction contract for the work. Next slide. So some expenses we've had so far for this project is that geological evaluation, which was approximately $18,000, and the repair of the drainage outfall near Saxon, which was approximately $40,000. Design and permitting of a relocated pathway, we anticipate to be between $40,000 and $50,000 to a final design shovel-ready project, including permits. And then construction is a range, and it really depends on what the scope of that project is, how much grading is involved. But that is an estimate just based on other similar types of public projects. Again, there would be a significant amount of staff time required for coordination, particularly with permitting, and then also potentially dealing with encroachments. Next slide, please. So just kind of a summary of everything we just went over. Bluff erosion is really unavoidable, and relocation is the only practical near-term option to preserve the pathway. That inland alignment we expect to last about 10 years, and additional erosion control could slow but would not stop that erosion. If council directs staff to move forward with relocation, we approximate 6 to 12 months, depending on what kind of permitting we would need to get to a shovel-ready project, an estimated construction cost of $400,000 to $700,000. And so I am here, as is the steering committee, as is Eric Zinn, the geologist for this project. And that is the end of staff's presentation.
Thank you. Bring it to council questions, and I'll start at this end.
The one question I had regarding the engineer's estimate, if you bring that up, it was $40,000 for the drawing part, was that? And so you're saying out of that drawing part, then there'd be that'd give us the drawings that then you could then ascertain what the bid number is for really from the construction standpoint, or is there a phase part of that?
So that the 40 to 50,000 would be to a shovel-ready project, and then somewhere during that, well before final design, we would have an estimate for the construction piece.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation, Jessica. So that's a lot of money. If we were to pursue this relocation, where would the funding come from?
So this isn't a budgeted project currently in the Public Works budget. We do have funds that would cover likely a design and permitting. However, construction would have to be something that we took from the general fund or some other location that Jim said was okay.
And we had to pass a tax measure last year to pay our staff, correct? I just want to remind everyone that. Okay. Given how difficult it is to secure all the funding we need for Cliff Drive, how likely would it be for us to get grant funding for this project?
So given the documented lifespan we expect of this project, it wouldn't be competitive for any grant funding that I'm aware of.
Okay. And I'm aware, the plants along the bluff currently is not drought tolerant, or it was not planted to be drought tolerant. Can we convert existing landscaping along Grand Ave path to drought tolerant landscaping to minimize the saturation of the bluff?
So it's my understanding the vegetation type is not all that critical to erosion. I would invite Eric, our geologist, to give you a more detailed answer on that question.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Eric.
Eric Zinn with Pacific Crest Engineering. The vegetation type that lies behind the face of the bluff isn't really super important. most of the retreat of the bluff occurs during the wintertime, mostly from rainfall, because the volume of rainfall infiltrating is much higher than the occasional irrigation. And if you looked at the profiles that Jessica put up earlier, you can actually see right at the interface between the soil and the bedrock at the top there, there's water that's coming from probably miles inland that's flowing along the interface because it can't percolate down through the bedrock. So it moves laterally through the soil and forms a flowing sand layer that actually ends up causing the entire face of the soil to lay back 38 degrees. If you want to plant drought-tolerant vegetation, that's great. If you want to plant it in the face, that's great too. We just want to make sure that if you're putting any irrigation further out towards the bluff edge, that you want to keep it back there. In case the bluff retreats, you will end up rupturing the irrigation and creating a much bigger problem.
I was thinking like no irrigation and just have those plants absorb whatever runoffs come through, right? So we would not be watering these plants. It would be nature and the runoffs watering the plants.
Yeah, I mean, Jessica, I think probably drainage control would be even more important than that, because most of the surfaces leading up to the top of the bluff right now are hardened. They're old abandoned road asphalt and I think base rock too, right? So that I think would be more critical to keeping the water from running over the top in the places where it is. And then we noticed that where the culvert outfalls are, we also have issues. As they continue to get damaged, they create problems right around the culvert area. So I know you guys addressed that with the most recent catastrophe.
Yeah.
But I'm not against drought-tolerant vegetation. And if you want to plant it in the bluff face, that'll actually help rainfall impact.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much for answering that question. Is there any option for a more informal kind of community-based project? I know the cost of $700,000, I think, is really, I don't know how feasible that will be. It's a lot of money, and we don't have that money. Have we explored that option? What would that look like if there is a more community-based approach?
Sure. So what's non-negotiable is needing a grading and drainage plan from someone who's qualified to produce that. And then we need someone who can meet those plans. So if there's significant grading involved or like new drainage structures, that's something that we'd probably want to do with our traditional process with a contractor. However, like the establishment of DG and compacting that for a pathway or doing fencing work is something we could do with volunteers, which is something we've done on this top before.
Can you think of how much that would save, or how much is it to have an official body do the grading work versus some of the work that we can volunteer?
It's really hard to know at this point.
Yeah, because we haven't done the study. Got it. Okay, I think, and I've asked some of these questions already, but I want the public to also hear this. My understanding is public parking in Depot Hill is really limited due to the parking permit program, as well as the encroachments in that neighborhood, which is why we have a shuttle program during the summertime. My questions are, does the shuttle go to Depot Hill?
No, the beach shuttle doesn't go to Depot Hill.
Okay. And are these encroachments into the public right-of-way revocable? Not just along Grand, but along Oakland, Saxton, and Central?
So with new construction, the city often will issue revocable encroachment permits for people, revocable landscaping encroachment permits. I don't know the exact percentage of homes that have them. In many cases, older homes, the encroachments or the landscaping that's out in the right of way would not be sort of part of a permit in any way, shape, or form at this point. So to answer your question, when the city issues the permits, yes, they're revocable. In other cases, people are just landscaping the area in front of their home.
I just asked that question in terms of public access. We talk about this path being a public access, being a public, community source of use. But really, there's not a ton of parking up there. There aren't many ADA accessible paths. So if we're truly going to make it a public access space, we should look into having parking for folks and ADA parking spaces for folks. If we care about the 4-foot pathway for an ADA compliance issue, then we should really think about access more broadly. Thanks.
Bring it on to this side. Questions?
I think I'm going to save most of my questions for when we do the deliberation. But I was wondering, how did we let all the people who live along this pathway know? Did we send out a notice to them so they were aware that we're going to be talking about it tonight?
There was not a notice sent out tonight other than our general notice for the city council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
My question mostly was about grant funding, which it doesn't sound like it's that feasible. I guess we did receive additional comments from the Coastal Commission, which seems as though they are in favor of us at least proceeding with some plans, right? Okay. I think that's all I have until the next time. Thank you.
Question I have is it going to have in the plan to work on the runoff and where the water gets stuck on the top and bottom of the levels? That could be part of the plan?
So yes, there would be a grading and drainage plan that would assess the entire stretch of the pathway.
Okay, great. That's all I have for now.
Mayor, I had a couple follow-ups.
Sure.
That's okay. Thank you. Right now, we heard from Pacific Crest about drainage. Is there an active drainage system on Depot Hill right now? We're talking about water from miles away filtrating out. Is there a drainage system up there right now?
There is. It's pretty limited. There's not a drainage system throughout the neighborhood. There are outfalls at the end of near the end of each street.
So the county does have a drainage system then?
So yes, there are most of the streets, and then the pathway itself drains into 3 outfalls along Grand Avenue.
All right. Go ahead.
I don't believe it's a county drainage system. It's the city's.
Oh, so city's drainage. Okay, thank you. And then, so just a point of clarification, this estimate of the $30,000 to $40,000 for the drawing, that would then be able to tell the direction. Is it just a DG path? Is it just some moving of plants? Or if it's a major project that would turn into more a sense of grading and drainage, is that what we're looking at for that dollar figure?
So it's unclear right now without doing a topographic survey how much grading would really be needed to have it drain properly into whatever drainage that we have, or if new drainage needs to be established.
So this is kind of like a two-phase approach, like do the topo first, proceed slowly, look at that, and then stop and then have analysis done on what it would cost to then really design it, and then to see what the extensiveness of that would be.
Right, we'd have a conceptual plan first after we had more of the topographic information.
Perfect. And this trail is also, I know when I walk up there, it is part of the Monterey Bay Sanctuary Trail. Is that correct? Yeah. Thank you.
Can I just ask one more question? I was
Certainly.
trying to remember about the permit parking. Is all of Depot Hill permit parking, or is it only Cliff Drive that runs through there?
So it's 7 days a week on Grand and Fairview and Cliff. Is that right? And then I believe it's May through October from Central back on weekends and holidays. September 20th. So May 20th through September 20th.
On Burlingame and Oak and some of those other streets.
So yeah, for Central back, it's when the beach shuttle is running, that's when it's permit parking. And then right on the first street, basically, it's 7 days a week, 365.
Well, where it's 7 days a week, didn't we put in some short-term parking spaces so people could?
That sounds familiar, yeah.
There's about 2 24-minute parking spots on Grand.
Great, thank you.
Jamie, can you give some of that historical context? I remember you mentioning at some point that there was an opportunity for residents in Depot Hill to develop their own district to pay for some of this drainage infrastructure a couple decades ago, but it was voted down. Is that correct?
So there may be people in the room who have more acute memory than I do, but basically a group of neighbors formed a geologic hazard abatement district. I believe it was around 2000, maybe 99. They prepared an EIR for a bluff armoring plan, submitted it to the city, and the city ultimately turned down that EIR. It failed to certify that EIR. I believe that was in 2004, but again, there may be people in the room who have longer memories than I. That predated my time here, so I'm operating off of historical documentation. The jihad actually does still exist, is my understanding, but I believe it's inactive at this point. It isn't assessing new taxes or assessments on the members.
Great. That'll take us to public comment. Please state your name if you'd like it for the record.
Yeah, my name is Paul Esty. Good evening, Mayor Clark and council members. As you may remember in your meeting in April, I was nominated to put together a citizens committee. We call it the ad hoc committee. And thanks to some of your recommendations and the thoughtful citizens that heard about this and actually volunteered their time to help out this committee, we ended up with 9 members, including myself. Four of us live on Depot Hill. One of them is on Grand Avenue that is affected by this bluff erosion issue. The rest of them are from different areas of the city. And so we approached this effort by studying what's going on and what can we do to prevent Mother Nature with basically destroying the path and what has gone on over the last few years and what can we do in the short term. So I just wanted to give you those sorts of notes, and I'll introduce our speaker, one of our members of the committee, Keith Bloom, who will go through a presentation that's somewhat similar to what you've already seen, so we can flip through that, but I think our conclusions are slightly different than what the staff has concluded. By the way, we did meet with staff, Public Works Director several times and Jamie several times throughout this process, as well as we have reviewed all the geological reports that go back to 1976 on this bluff to understand exactly what the rate of erosion is and this issue of angle of repose and what can we do about that. So we'll show you some of that in this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's controlling the slide?
Thank you for coming.
Keith Bloom, appreciate your time tonight to update you as to where our committee has arrived upon after a meeting for about 6 months to try to figure out how best to preserve the pedestrian path as well as to slow down bluff erosion. If you could move to the next slide, please. Just to go through quickly the agenda, we want to review the summary of the current situation. Jessica did a good job of covering most of that. History of events and studies that were done as it relates to the bluff over the many, many years. The value that we see of the pathway, the community value. Options to restore the pathway, which we all considered, and then our committee's conclusions and recommendations to you. Next slide, please. So the current situation, which again, Jessica did a good job of reviewing. Obviously, there's been a pretty unabated erosion of the Depot Hill bluff as resulted in failure and loss of Grand Avenue pathway in 2 locations, between Oakland and Hollister. That pathway was shut down, I believe, after the erosion in 2017. Excuse me. And then between Saxon and Oakland, and obviously the most recent failure caused that pathway that portion of the pathway to be shut down. The ad hoc committee studied options going forward to address inadequate storm drainage, path rerouting, and soil retention. The next slide, please. These are just a couple of photos. On the left, from 2017, the section of the bluff between Oakland and Hollister, and then to the right, the picture on the right, the picture between Saxon and Oakland, 2025. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. Just briefly, the timeline of events and studies that have occurred starting back in 1979. Between 79 and 2010, there were several erosion and drainage studies that were done. Obviously, this issue has been studied and continues to be studied for many, many years. Of late, there's been 5 failures in 5 years. The most notable being in 2017. Again, the pathway.
I'll allow you to continue since you represent the ad hoc committee. So.
Okay, appreciate it.
Carry on.
Great, thank you. 2017, as previously mentioned, the Hollister and Oakland Avenue erosion occurred, and that pathway was permanently shut down. 2022, the pathway between Oakland and Saxon was temporarily closed. RAC, as well as the city, moved and erected the new fence. And then in 2025, early this year, the pathway between Oakland and Saxon, again, there was some erosion, and now it's temporarily closed. Next slide, please. So in terms of the value of the pathway, obviously the committee feels that that's a great amenity, not only to the Depot Hill residents, but also the residents of Capitola in general, as well as the surrounding community and tourists. We all see, I live on Depot Hill, and we see people, neighbors, visitors, tourists, walking the bluff all day, every day. It's a very, very nice amenity for all of us. And we estimate that there's maybe 200 to 300 pedestrians per day that walk along the bluff. There was some reduction after the collapse between Oakland and Hollister in foot traffic, obviously. There was significant increase in traffic during COVID, but we still see fairly robust traffic, foot traffic, including, again, tourists walking along the bluff. Next slide, please. So the committee considered several options for restoring the bluff. 5 options ranging from, number 1, doing nothing, 2, to moving the pathway onto the city's easement. And that will require improving drainage along at Saxon and 302 Grand, installing a pathway on the city's easement, moving the fence to the edge of the path, and adding simple retention system over the latest landslide. That's between 304 and 308 Grand. Third option is to add reinforcement of the bluff at the top to protect the marine terrace layer. Again, Jessica talked about that, as well as the options number 4 and 5, implementing a full Depot Hill drainage plan and installing a protective seawall. All of those 3 options are challenging, and I'll get into a little bit more on the next slide, which you have already gotten to. So these options, again, listed 1 through 5 in order from lowest cost to highest cost. They each talks about the sort of relative cost, some potential risks, and some detailed issues that would have to be addressed if that option were to be followed. Again, the first option is to do nothing. The cost is relatively minor. There are some existing utilities in Grand Avenue, gas and electric, that would have to be, are going to have to be dealt with at some point because erosion will occur. And if those lines were to be damaged, that could create some hazard. Option number 2, as we're moving the pathway into the easement, again, the cost, Jessica mentioned $400,000 to $700,000. I think the committee feels that there are some ways of getting that cost down pretty significantly. I'll talk about that in a moment. A risk is, you just don't know how long the pathway will last. The erosion is unpredictable. Again, drainage needs will have to be addressed to improve the life of the new pathway. And again, the utility issue, relocation issue, will have to be addressed as it would under option number 1. I'll skip through or go quickly through options 3 through 5, 3 being reinforcing the bluff terrace, number 4, implementing a full drainage plan, and number 5, installing a protective seawall. I think those have all been studied in the past. Very expensive options. I'm not sure that reinforcing the bluff terrace would address the bedrock issue at the bottom of the bluff. Implementing a full drainage plan, I think there was an estimate done by the city back in 2008 that suggested it might cost $800,000. In today's dollars, that might be a couple $1 million. And then lastly, installing the protective seawall. That would require Coastal Commission approval. It costs millions of dollars is our understanding, and likely wouldn't even be approved by the Coastal Commission. So based on consideration of all those options, the committee's conclusion was really the only feasible option is to move the pathway inland approximately 10 feet, quickest and easiest solution, least expensive option other than doing nothing. And hopefully we can get 5 to 10 years out of that path. The estimate of cost to do that, again, I know Jessica mentioned $400,000 to $700,000. That doesn't assume free labor, and what we would propose is that RAC, like they did with relocating the fence a couple of years ago, would do provide a lot of the labor free to get the work done under the supervision of the city and the design consultants. But we would hope that would bring the cost down quite significantly. So with that option as the committee's recommendations, we would suggest the next steps would be actually to fix the drainage outlet at the end of Saxon Avenue. That was already done and completed last month, I believe. So that's done, and we appreciate the city doing that. Also, to get a landscape designer to create a pathway plans, we've talked a little bit about that. We obtained a proposal from SSA and provided that to the city. And then the process obviously would be to get approval from Public Works for the plans and for the netting, order material, and set up a date for RAC or dates for RAC to complete that work, complete the pathway and the retention system, have the city inspect the work, make sure it's built per plan and spec, and then ultimately open up a new pathway. That is my presentation, and if you have any questions of me or any other committee members, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you. Questions? No, see no questions? Further public comment?
Hi, guys. I'm Dave Fox. I live up on McCormick. I do come down and talk to you occasionally. And for the last 2 years, I and my other neighbors have been told when we ran into this problem, and we all knew it was going to be a problem, that we were going to automatically move the path back. And in accordance with some old easement stuff, that the property owners were going to have to pay to have the landscaping removed. It was not going to be a cost to the city. So maybe I'm wrong. So my question to you, Joe, because once the public comments are gone, I can't question anybody else. I would like you to ask the Public Works Director why for the past 2 years She said, if we got to this point, we go back to those people and tell them they have to move the property lines back. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, Connie Welch. Good to see you all. I live up on Depot Hill, but I used to live in another part of Capitola, and I always walked up there. And I think to underestimate how many people use that pathway is not good. It's almost like a park up there. You can go up there, you can whale watch, and there's hundreds of people a week that go up there, find their way up there, somehow find a place to park, and walk up there and benefit from it. And it would be a real shame to just not put some money into putting it back. It's a beautiful spot, and it's access to our bay, and it's educational for little children, and it's a real safe place to walk too. It's just beautiful up there. So I think that it's used by a lot more than just Depot Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Sue Campbell, and I joined the Ad Hoc Bluff Committee because I think that that bluff is just a great resource and a feature of Capitola. I work out at a gym in Aptos, and I am kind of an advocate for everything that happens in Capitola, like the car show or the Art and Wine Festival. A lot of people are like, wow, we go to the village, we eat at restaurants there, and we really love that path. And I've been asked, you know, is it just going to continue to erode? And I'm hoping it doesn't. I think it's an asset to our community, just like the wharf is. And I think it should be restored and protected and made available for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for taking a look at this tonight. And I would really encourage you to at least take the next step and put some funding forward to move this project forward. It is a love of the community up there, not just Depot Hill. It's not about Depot Hill people, really. We see people from all over the world come up there. And it's just, it's been written in many magazines, and most of you guys know that. I see many staff members walking up there during the week, city council members. Some of you may never have been up there, but you need to take a look at it. But you know, I'm kind of curious because as a person who built a home, I've talked to a number of other homeowners up there that built. Zone 5 charges us money for water runoff out there, $1.05 per square foot of impermeable pavement or roof thing. So it adds up to a lot of money when you're building. I'm just curious, where does all that money go? I actually had this discussion with Zone 5 when I was building, because I go, you do no services for us. You don't do anything for me. And she told me from Zone 5, well, at one point we will. The funding is there. So my hope is that maybe we can reach out to Zone 5. Obviously, this bluff retreat is an issue, something they're going to deal with there. Our LUP, underneath our local coastal plan, addresses some of this. We're dealing with on Cliff Drive. It seems like the Coastal Commission is making some changes or supporting us. They actually gave us a $10 million grant for Cliff Drive. So who knows what's going to happen when we get further down the road. But one thing is our plan does discuss when it gets towards damaging homes that there's some protections that can be made. Why are we waiting? I mean, this is a long-term thing. We have time to plan it. Let's just move this forward. I appreciate your support on this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment, we'll bring it back to council deliberation. I'll start on this side.
Well, for me, I think this pathway is pretty iconic in Capitola, and it does get used by an awful lot of people. It's a bit amazing to me how many people have asked me when it's going to open up again. It is part of the California Coastal Trail, and if you actually go to the California Coastal Conservancy's website, they have a map showing this trail and, recommending that people use it. And there was at one point a thought that the trail would turn and actually go down Escalona, and there's potential of having an easement down there where there used to be an old right-of-way. And I go back far enough, I've actually seen plans where it crossed and went through the property that the state owns and continued on down. So it's not, it's not an easy decision because we all know that the pathway is going to continue to erode. But it seems to me it would be prudent for the city to at least go the next step of looking at having plans and a design done, because that's really the only way we're going to determine how much it's ultimately going to cost to put the pathway in. And, I've thought about this, and, if it ends up being $700,000, I don't know if that's a place that I could go, but maybe if it's going to be, $300,000 or $400,000, it might be something that the community does decide that they want to go forward with. So right now, my inclination is to go forward with doing the design and the study and getting the plans, and let's figuring out exactly what we're talking about. How can it be built? Are there cost savings that can go with it? Because, I don't live on Depot Hill. I live in the River Terrace neighborhood, and I still walk up to Depot Hill because you get views from up there that you don't get anywhere else. And it is almost like a park, as someone said, because it's quiet, it's serene, the benches up there get used often, by people sitting there and contemplating and look at the ocean. So I would be in favor of at least going through the next step.
Great, thank you. I want to do a big shout out to the ad hoc committee. It's really great to have input from locals, and people volunteering their time is really important. I would like to make a clarifying question just to be clear about the encroachment removal. It does say in our staff notes that the expense would be on the property owners.
That's correct. Their private encroachment is in the public right-of-way.
Right. Okay, cool. I just want that to be clear. And then I did have a question. This is maybe getting too into the weeds, but if we're moving the path into our public right-of-way and then maybe using DG or concrete to create that path, in return, would that somewhat helps to stabilize the area that's in front of these homes that eventually, might be subject to more erosion instead of just like landscaping?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. It's maybe a random question, but it's an important place for me. I visit it often. I have many fond memories there. And I think it's something like what Councilmember Westman was saying, that taking some first steps, I think, are important. I feel like there's a lot of unknowns right now. And I mean, we've seen really how creative our community can be, and with when we all come together. I mean, we've seen it with the wharf. We've seen it with plenty of RAC opportunities. So I would definitely be in favor of moving forward with some permitting and some design concept to really kind of get deeper into the knowledge and start the conversations with our community members and see what those volunteer opportunities might be. And if we can get just something else off the ground rather than not do anything. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't know, it seems like every time we have a challenge in Capitola, the community comes together and rallies. And one thing I just want to just follow up on what Councilmember Morgan was highlighting, the ad hoc committee. I know Paul Esty, under your leadership, when you pulled this group together, I appreciate when we had a conversation, you said one of your main focuses was to make sure it represented all of Capitola and made sure it wasn't just a group of Depot Hill people looking at what the pathway means to them. So many people in the community in different areas and neighborhoods know how much of a cherished past that is. So I appreciate that. It'd be nice also to have a list of names who were in the ad hoc committee so we could personally thank each one of them. I think that'd be a nice thing. I mean, many hours probably went into this. It's amazing to see the detail in the report that you guys put together, which is just, again, that's what Capitola does. It's just amazing to me every time how the group and the community rallies around these challenges that get put in front of us. With that, I am in support of looking at, what the next steps could be. Same thing as Councilmember Westman is saying, if the number was 700, to $1 million, I mean, I think that's a whole different conversation. But until we know what the number is, what it looks like, is this a project that volunteers could come back and say, absolutely not. There's too much liability, too much risk, and needs to be a licensed general contractor. That's something that, we rely on the city staff and consultants for. But I think an investment into making those decisions is a very important one for the community to come together and I think for our council to look at. So those are my comments.
So I care about coastal access, but I also care about fiscal responsibility. Like many of my council members, I think $700,000 is a really big price tag. I mean, if we think about 10 years of that project, that's $70,000 a year. If this path lasts for 5 years, it's $140,000 a year minus maintenance costs. So it's a lot. And I care about, wanting to give our staff raises next year and being able to fund our CalPERS obligations. With that said, there are other priorities in the city. We've talked about this in the past in terms of cost of a specific plan for the 31st corridor that's almost the cost of this project, and that can really be a catalyst for a real economic development for the city and bring in more revenue for future projects. We also have Cliff Drive. We still don't have all the funding for, and that has true public access as well as being an arterial road and having infrastructure that we have to really take care of and be mindful of. I think in this situation, moving forward to the next step, my question is, how much staff time would that cost to go to the next step? How much money would it be? I know you said $30,000, $40,000. Where would this funding come from? And I know we haven't budgeted for this, so do we have to amend our budget? Do you have some answers?
So I think it was $50,000 to a shovel-ready project, right? And Councilmember Jensen, you asked the question kind of about phases and steps. That's certainly an option. I think $20,000 is kind of what we would need to get the answers about topography, kind of what scale and scope of construction needs to happen. So I think the number we would need to sort of take the next step, it doesn't get us all the way to a shovel-ready project, would be about $20K, plus or minus in there. We do have to identify the funding source. And at this point, I think, with the city's cash position, we really need the council to identify that. We can come back with a budget amendment on consent. But I think the council's cleanest options would be the contingency reserve, which council will recall is underfunded at this point, pending FEMA reimbursements. We could also look at a couple of the projects we funded this year in the CIP. We talked about Monterey Park, put $10,000 into a project there. We talked about $50K, it's off the top of my head, for Esplanade Park. So it could be a combination thereof, but I think $20K is kind of the number we would need to get the council to the next step.
And I'm really trying not to rain on people's parade. I think this is a great asset for the community. It's a beautiful pathway. I wish we can preserve it forever. But reality is erosion is happening, sea level is rising, storms are getting more and more intense. And, I think we have to also, as a body and as leaders, really be realistic in terms of how many more efforts are we going to try to save this pathway, right? Like when we look back on the maps, even back to our LCP from 1980s, and I looked at the map, it was a hand-drawn map of this path when there was a road and there was a bike lane, right? All that infrastructure is gone. these decades of erosion have caused all of that infrastructure to go into the sea. And this will continue to happen. So I think we also need to acknowledge that, if we do this, is this the last ditch effort for this pathway? When is it the responsibility of the owners of Grand Ave to then think about what happens once this falls in, the city's right of way falls into the ocean? And when the path truly becomes unsafe again, we really have to be responsible to closing the path to ensure the safety of the community. I don't want fatalities. I don't want people falling into the ocean. And I think, we just have to be mindful of all of those things. And if we do move forward with a more community-based project, some of the questions I have around that is, what are the kind of risks and liability for the city to allow for a community group to relocate this pathway into the public's right-of-way? And is there a way we can indemnify the city if there was harm caused by this community effort or project? And I don't know if you have some answers to that, Sam.
We could certainly try to negotiate an agreement.
Okay, I have some comments. I like what the ad hoc committee did. They did a lot of hard work, and I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm also appreciative of the Coastal Commission and what their recommendations were. And for me, it's easy to say, yeah, we need to move forward to help preserve this path, even if it's only 10 years. And I like what the ad hoc committee said, that they thought maybe we can get it done cheaper. So I think we need to move forward. And that's all we're looking for at this point from the council to the staff. And it sounds like that the majority is in for moving forward on it. So unless anybody else has anything else to add.
Could I maybe we do sort of take this step approach and kind of hone in on the earlier stages of figuring this out. So we're starting with a smaller chunk and then kind of see where this grows. To Councilmember Orbach, I don't think any of us think that this is going to fix the erosion. I think we're all very well aware of what's happening. But I think this is it would be a last ditch effort to preserve what we can for however long we can. And I think it is important to the community. And I think that this is just the first step. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can come up with in the early stages.
Does staff have enough direction?
Sorry, one follow-up question regarding the area that has fallen off recently. That was around the drainage, right? Area, and that area has been fixed. So the stepped approach, which I think is a great way to go. Is there any concerns, trying to look into the magic crystal ball? Since we took care of the drainage, is there any concerns with timelines of what these certain steps are going to take with knowing that we're coming to the winter?
So all the work that we can do preventative for the winter has been done. That drainage has been repaired. The other two drainage sites are in good repair. And so that would be all the work we could do before this winter rains.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we figure out where in the budget we're going to come up with $20,000 and go forward with the first steps of this project, knowing that staff will be bringing back a budget amendment for us in the future.
Is staff looking for us to make a motion or just direction?
I think at this point, the direction is to proceed. I'll just tell you what the direction we're taking, and you can decide whether you need a motion or not. At this point, we would proceed with coming back with a budget amendment for $20,000 just to take the first step, to get a concept plan associated with a topographic survey that'll outline sort of the shape and form that the larger project would take. And staff will look into the funding sources that I identified earlier, some of the newest CIP projects as well as contingency, and bring that back for council approval of the budget amendment.
Great. Councilmember Westman, would that be your motion?
So we could have that as our motion if we wanted, because I think technically we are supposed to make a motion to do a budget amendment. Have you bring it back?
That's fine. No, I mean, staff has the direction at this point. It would come back as a separate action.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the presentation, and so grateful for the ad hoc committee. Thank you. That'll bring us to item B, economic development presentation and department update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, this is kind of a unique presentation that we have for you. We have Anthony Guajardo from the BIA here, Carrie Arnone from the Chamber of Commerce, and also Terrence Concanon with Visit Santa Cruz. And I think we'll start this presentation with Anthony from the BIA first presenting, and we're kicking off the new Community and Economic Development Department. We've got great partners that we want to showcase first within our community that are extremely, just help our businesses. That is their mission. And we'll start with Anthony's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Guajardo, Chair of the BIA. Okay, so Capitola Village. Next slide, please. Capitola Village and Wharf Business Improvement Association represents the collective voice of the business community within Capitola Village. Established by local merchants, volunteers, and contractors, the BIA exists to promote, enhance, and preserve the economic and cultural vitality of this historical coastal district. And why does the BIA exist? Capitola's business community has always played an active role in sharing in the charm of the village and welcoming visitors from near and far. To build on that spirit, local merchants came together to form the BIA, a self-funded, community-driven organization dedicated to keeping Capitola Village vibrant and thriving. Today, the BIA remains the only dedicated marketing and beautification arm for Capitola Village, connecting visitors, residents, and supporting small businesses, keeping the village vibrant year-round. So what do we do? A couple different aspects. So marketing and promotion. We manage the brand and the presence of Capitola Village through photography, video, social media, newsletters, blogs, and destination marketing campaigns that attract visitors year-round. Community events that we host within the village. The BIA also funds and oversees projects that enhance the visitor experience, including palm tree lighting, landscaping, and seasonal decor, like we will during Christmas. We connect business owners with local resources, city contacts, and marketing assistance, while also providing a network for collaboration and community building among the merchants. Our efforts directly support local tourism, retail dining, and lodging, creating a ripple effect that benefits the wider Capitola economy. So how we operate. The funding structure is the Capitola Village and Wharf BIA is funded by an assessment from approximately 80 local businesses, and we have 120 short-term rentals within the village district. These collective contributions allow the BIA to independently manage the marketing, events, and enhancements that benefit the entire community. The BIA also operates independently, but we maintain open communication with the City of Capitola, Capitola Chamber, Visit Santa Cruz, and nonprofits like Think Local First. Leadership and management. The BIA is led by a volunteer board of directors, all business owners and merchants within the village, short-term rental owners. We're supported by a village ambassador and a professional marketing team, Opposites of East, to help collaborate and handle the communications and the creative direction of our marketing. 97% of the BIA's annual budget is dedicated to marketing events and beautification projects. We're ensuring that resources directly support visibility, tourism, and the ongoing appeal of Capitola Village. So our marketing approach. The BIA manages all the marketing organically, powered by creativity, consistency, and community connection rather than large ad budgets. We focus on authentic storytelling that highlights the beauty, the people, and the experiences that make Capitola special. Every image, post, campaign is created locally with the goal of keeping the village top of mind year-round. So we utilize several channels to do this. With social media, email marketing. Our email marketing is a monthly newsletter, reaches about approximately 10,000 subscribers monthly. Blog and website content, and then community engagement. Interactive campaigns and user-generated content that build lasting connections between locals, residents, visitors, and the businesses that define Capitola. Here's a brief engagement and marketing overview of some of the content between our social media stuff. So a couple key takeaways. Over 7 million total organic impressions. Engagement driven by authentic, community-centered storytelling. What's important is that a lot of this is 100% organic reach. We're not using any paid ads. We're trying to maximize our budget. So we're looking for an organic reach. And as we've compared ourselves to other coastal towns, we've realized that Capitola Village continues to outperform regional averages and strengthens our reputation as a must-visit coastal destination up and down the coast. So one of the big things, an aspect outside the marketing, is the community connection and what that means when you're marketing. Yeah, we have a dedicated marketing and communications team supporting the work on the ground and the content, but the real magic happens with the community online. Behind every post, there's a community decades in the making. People who came here as kids now bring their own families. Visitors share memories of grandparents who spent summers on the beach or met their partners at the wharf. Our comment section in the social media channels have become story threads, living testimonials that keep Capitola's legacy alive and relevant. Every story, share, and tag becomes a conversion, a plan to visit again, book a stay, or bring someone new. It's the retention of our visitors, former residents of past and present. This is what makes our marketing different. It's not just reach, it's relationship. It's the heartbeat of Capitola. It's a destination for people. It's the memories that they cherish is the reason why they come back. So, we are a small team. We are a 2-block district. But one of our largest portions of the BIA membership is our short-term rentals. Those contribute approximately 1/3 of the city's TOT tax. Visitor stays generated through the BIA marketing campaigns directly increase TOT, sales tax, and local business revenue throughout the city. Our goal is always, when visitors come, put them in the lodging so that they stay for 2 or 3 days and they can visit Capitola as a whole. While we do want an economic impact, we also have a community impact. This is done by business-led giving and community support. Beyond the assessments and volunteer hours, BIA business owners consistently give back. They're donating time, funds, and energy to local causes year-round. We employ residents year-round. Most teenagers their first job is in the village. And then we work with several different organizations on a monthly basis. Go ahead, next slide, please. So our impact extends far beyond the village. The village isn't just a destination, it's a driving force behind the city's economy and its heart. When people think of Capitola Village or in Capitola as a whole, they usually come across our branding. This is what they're coming for. We are trying to set the expectation for them as an authentic town that they want to see and come drive to. Our work lifts the whole city. When we market the village, we market Capitola as a whole. Visitors who see our content don't just visit the beach, they fill hotels, they eat at restaurants, they shop throughout the city. Our 2-block district drives an outsized share of the city's tourism revenue and keeps Capitola top of mind for travelers statewide. Capitola Village is more than just 2 blocks. It's the brand of Capitola. Our goal is always to make this a special place. And I want to thank our team and of merchants that just spend hours and countless hours to do these things. They contribute their time and their effort and to support the business community. This is just a handful of the volunteers on our board of directors, but there's also just volunteer residents that volunteer, local community members that just engage with the BIA on a daily basis. And I think that's what makes Capitola Village special. Any questions?
We have questions.
No, I just wanted to say that was a pretty impressive presentation. I do think Capitola Village is a very special place, and I'm glad that we have a group like the BIA working to keep it special. Thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work.
Of course, thank you guys.
So next we have Carrie Arnone with the Chamber of Commerce. It's been very busy with art and wine recently.
Could we start with the first slide? So my name is Carrie Arnone, and I am the CEO at the Capitola Chamber of Commerce, helping Capitola businesses connect, grow, and succeed while celebrating everything that makes this community special is at the heart of what we do. Slide 2. We know that events bring people to Capitola, from the Capitola Art and Wine Festival to the Halloween Parade and Surfing Santa. We organize fun, engaging events that entertain the community and drive traffic to local shops and restaurants. Our events aren't just fun, they bring real economic impact. Take the Capitola Art and Wine Festival. This year we celebrated its 42nd year. It draws tens of thousands of visitors to Capitola Village, boosting sales, filling restaurants, and highlighting local businesses. But it's more than just a festival. It's a celebration of everything that makes Capitola special. It honors our art community, local wine region, musical talent, cuisine, and the colorful charm of Capitola Village. And it wouldn't be possible without the amazing volunteers who dedicate their time and energy to make the event run smoothly and welcoming for everyone. The festival supports not just the Chamber, but SoCal High athletic and music programs, the Harbor High Leadership Program, and vital local services, including the Capitola Police Department and Central Fire, who keep our community safe and prepared. It's a true community celebration. Slide 3. Oh, thank you. And then there's the Halloween Parade and Surfing Santa, two community favorites we've hosted for over 30 years. The Halloween Parade is a little spooky, a lot of fun, and full of community cheer. Surfing Santa is a unique tradition that's brought smiles to generations of kids and families. These family-focused, feel-good events bring people into the village where they shop, dine, and enjoy the day, supporting our local merchants. So mark your calendars. The Capitola Village Halloween Parade is coming up this Sunday, October 26th at 2 p.m., led by Capitola PD, a Central Fire engine, and the SoCal High Marching Band. Costumes, candy, and a spooky good time for the whole family. Slide 4. And then on Saturday, November 29th at noon, Surfing Santa will make his grand entrance, riding the waves via kayak to Capitola Beach to visit with all the kids, a tradition that's made national headlines and brought smiles to generations of kids and families. Slide 5. We celebrate and promote local businesses. One of our favorite traditions is a ribbon cutting, complete with big scissors and a bright red ribbon, to celebrate a new business opening or a milestone anniversary. It's more than just a photo op. It's a fun and meaningful way to cheer on local businesses and show them that they're an important part of our community. These celebrations spark connections, foster a sense of belonging, and leave a lasting feeling of pride. On that note, join us as we welcome a new Capitola business, Coconut Thai Cuisine, with a ribbon-cutting ceremony this Friday at noon in the Brown Ranch Marketplace. We serve as a local resource. When people need help finding something in Capitola, the Chamber is often their first stop, whether it's a new business owner figuring out city permits, a visitor asking where to eat, or a resident looking for local services. We are centrally located in the Capitola Mall, making us easy to find. We are open Monday through Friday, providing information, resources, and referrals to help people get what they need quickly and easily. We also have a strong media presence, highlighting our members, local businesses, and community events, keeping everyone connected and informed about what's happening around Capitola. And coming in the new year, our website will be redesigned with added features that will enhance our offerings and make it easier to access resources, connect with businesses, and stay up to date on everything happening in our community. Next year, the Capitola Chamber is celebrating its 85th anniversary. For 85 years, the Chamber has been connecting, supporting, and celebrating the businesses that make Capitola special. We know that when our local businesses thrive, our community thrives, economically, socially, and culturally. Our mission is simple: to help local businesses succeed and to keep Capitola vibrant, welcoming, and full of life. We're not just supporting businesses, we're helping strengthen the heart of our community. We're proud to be a part of this incredible community, and we're excited to keep working together to make Capitola the best place to live, work, and visit. Strong businesses make a strong community. When our local businesses thrive, Capitola thrives. Supporting them is at the heart of everything we do. It's what makes our community shine. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple. Sorry. I was just wondering, I think the events that you do in the village, like the Art and Wine and Surfing Santa and Halloween, those are all great. Are there any plans to do any special events like on the 41st Avenue or, in the Upper Capitola Village area? Because it seems like, I understand that the BIA is just Capitola Village, but I'm assuming the Chamber is sort of a citywide citywide. So I was wondering if there was anything planned, any special events for other parts of town.
We would love to entertain that idea and are, welcome suggestions. And in years past, we did a business showcase at the Capitola Mall. We are open to have, the return of that event. At this time, we don't have any events scheduled for 41st Avenue. We have our annual community awards celebration that will take place in March. I hope that one day Capitola will have a venue that could accommodate 150 people. I look forward to that.
I'm hoping for that. So I just had one more sort of economic development question. So you talk about, trying to help the businesses thrive. Are there specific programs? Say I'm a new business and I'm coming into Capitola and I'm going to be on Capitola Road, that area. Are there special programs that the Chamber offers to get new businesses up and going, or?
That's something that I hope that, we can provide in the future. And I think it's something that we're looking forward to. We had a retreat recently and talked about the growth of the Chamber and the ways that, we want to help businesses. And that was one of the things that we spoke about. And so I think that's something that in 2026, we will proceed with. And it's something that we're hoping that our new website will offer more resources that help people with that kind of thing. The Chamber is a source of information. And when people come to us, if it's not something that we know the answer to, we give them the avenues, where they can get that information. And we pride ourselves on being very resourceful.
I'm just asking these questions because I think for all of us, we understand Capitola is sort of a sales tax generated city. And it seems like an awful lot of businesses, not only in Capitola, but in a lot of other places, are struggling right now, particularly smaller, local-owned businesses. So I was just curious about what the Chamber's plans are in the future because I think we're all going to have to work together if we want to have, sort of a viable commercial economic program going that's going to continue to support the city. But thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That was great. I had a question. You guys, I know the Chamber itself has a pretty big online following, Instagram and such. And so I'm wondering if, as the city, as we start to do more sort of town halls and community meetings and stuff, if there's a way to collaborate whether that's just a social media post or something, if you're in connection with the city, with staff, I think that would be a cool way to get information out to the people that are active in the community, but maybe don't know to look at the city website or anything like that. Might be a good collab in some way. I'm not sure how that looks, but it'd be cool.
It's something, whenever I come across something that I think is pertinent to, the city of Capitola, to residents, to businesses, I always share.
Yeah.
So when it's, your community meetings or, anything that the city shares, that the police department shares, that Central Fire shares, it's vital information that we want to share with our members and with our followers.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Carrie. Along kind of similar lines as Councilmember Westman, I'm just curious about the, economic development piece of it, the reach of it, because I know you do a lot of things in the village, and of course, Capitola is more than just the village, although the village is very special. I'm just wondering whether the chamber has kind of a strategic plan in terms of how to do more networking or have more networking opportunities for the community or with the businesses. And not to compare, but I just see a lot of invitations to, Santa Cruz Area Chamber. They have a lot of events. I've gone to a few of them. Different businesses host the events, and it's a community, it's a place for community leaders to come together, businesses to come together and just network and make connection, right? I also see that they have, ambassadors. They have people who act as ambassadors, who make the connection, who draw people into the chamber and be more an active role. So, just some ideas in terms of what your chamber can do. I think there are a lot of opportunities and ideas out there just to connect and be more cohesive. Let's see. I think that's it for now, but thank you.
And I agree with all of that. And I love collaborating with the other chambers. I think great ideas are brought to the table, and the networking that comes countywide is really beneficial. And it is something, that we have talked about in our board meetings, and something that I think that we will be bringing, into 2026. We did a lot of networking and a lot of monthly network lunches and mixers pre-COVID, and we've been slowly, bringing those things back. But we have a lot of plans for that in 2026.
I'll save my comments until after we hear Visit Santa Cruz. So thank you.
Thank you for the presentation
Thank you.
and all you do.
Okay, and next we have Terrence Concanon with Visit Santa Cruz.
Hello, Capitola City Council. I want to start off just by saying what great partners both Carrie and Anthony have been to Visit Santa Cruz County, and you guys should be really proud of the job they do. Visit Santa Cruz County is, do we have a slide? Let's put on the first slide. So just to give you some indication of what it is about what we do at Visit Santa Cruz County. So I'm Terrence Concanon, the CEO, and I've been here for starting in my third year. The organization is funded by a tourism marketing district that was formed in 2010. And the next renewal will be in 2029. So in 2026 and 27, you'll see me trotting between hotels and getting them to get back on board. We have a board of 25, a very large board for an organization of our size, but 13 of those represent the lodging. So we call our lodging partners, our stakeholders actually, because we are 99% funded by this tourism marketing district. And that tourism marketing district is a tiered assessment for hotels and short-term vacation rentals. And it's 4 tiers based on the amount of revenue brought in by the hotel. To give you an indication, La Bahia, not this year, but next year will be on level 4. They're currently on level 1 because we have no way of knowing. We don't have numbers from their last year. So that's where we go. That's how we get that number. Another thing you should know is that Visit Santa Cruz County is a certified autism center. Any of you that have heard me speak for the last 2 or 3 years, You know that I'm an autism advocate, and so I brought this to our organization and to our community and to our county, and I'm very proud of it, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. We have 4 experiential pillars. My staff call them marketing pillars because they're marketers, that's what they do. But I market, I also advocate, and I also experience. And so coastal, redwoods, agriculture, and arts and culture, we find are the 4 main things that we focus on in all of our content to make sure that we get all of the wonderful things in this county covered. Next slide, please. Next slide. But I wanted to give you guys some research, and unfortunately I can't see this on my phone. Well, yes, I can if I do this. So this is the first page you're seeing is a lodging summary for Capitola. And what you're seeing is aggregated lodging performance for the last rolling month. So you're looking at September of last year through August of this year. As you can see, occupancy, ADR, and RevPAR were down a little bit, along with supply, demand, and revenue. That is aggregated lodging. So that is not just that's not just hotels, or it's both hotels and short-term vacation rentals. Under hotels, you can see that occupancy was up just a bit, but the reason that was up just a bit is because they brought their ADR down, which also meant that their RevPAR down. Let me explain. ADR is average daily rate. RevPAR is revenue per available room. So if a hotel has 100 rooms, 5 of those rooms are not available for rent, like they're being worked on, then those rooms aren't counted. And that's a lot of high-level detail you probably don't need to hear. But under short-term vacation rentals, and you guys have quite a few, I thought this is very interesting. So the occupancy is up 2.4% year over year. ADR is up 10%. And kudos to the short-term vacation rental owners for that, because that's what they should be doing. And their RevPAR is up because of that. Now, the supply is down a little bit, and because the demand is down a little bit, but the revenue is up almost 10%. So that's a really strong showing for the short-term vacation rentals in your community. Next slide, please. So this slide is basically not just Capitola, but the entire county. And you'll see that California is our largest, obviously where most of our guests come from. And specifically, the metropolitan areas where they come from are San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles, Stockton, Lodi, et cetera, et cetera. But the top points of interest that they visit, I want you to look at the down there at the bottom. You can see, and probably will be no surprise to anybody in the county, that downtown Santa Cruz is number 1. And you can see that Capitola Village is down at 2.8%, and Capitola Mall is 1.5%. So the Capitola Mall POI, as we have it, is the larger part of Capitola, but we name it Capitola Mall, whereas Capitola Village is, of course, the village. If you add those two together, then you will find that you guys are doing very, very well, and only behind the boardwalk as one of our most visited destinations in the county. Next slide, please. This next slide is, try to get up here. There we go. This next slide will show you the visitor breakdown for Capitola Village. As you can see, a large percentage of your visitors, and these are probably day visitors, come from Monterey and Salinas, and 60% of them come domestic. One thing I wanted you to really key on, though, is over on the right, under demographics, you'll see that household income, 36% is $150,000 over. That is the highest demographic of any of the county or any community in this county. So you should be very happy about that. Next slide, please. Not to bore you with so much research, so I'm going to move on to some recent content that we've done. And so I'm going to give up my phone and see if I can. So I know I've only got 8 minutes, but I know all the content I have is so I don't necessarily need to turn the blog itself. But as you can see, some of our most popular recent blogs, Beachside Bliss in Capitola, where we talk about all the wonderful things you can do at the beach and near the beach. Time when you're just hanging out with each other. Thank you. Thank you very much. Also, the Village, one of our most popular content creations is Buzz. We'll say it's one of our creations. It's now being used by Monterey, but it's all the wonderful stuff to get food and enjoy that. Next. These are example of our social media ads. You know, on that is like We get a tremendous amount of engagement with Capitola-based content, specific niche, again, iconic. You know, it's in the bucket. These are several of our social media posts, and these do very well. There's no stuff image stuff. Send me because these are some of the most visited social media posts that we do. Capitola gets a tremendous amount of from our visitors, and we love to give them content. Your city is so beautiful. Next slide. So these are the video, and if you will click on the picture, it does have the video with sound. So we would have this. I don't know. Okay. Well, I thought about this. What I do have is a white sheet. You guys, it has links to one of these contents. You guys can click right on. Next slide. Again, reels and videos. We try to cover everything. I have an incredible team. Rachel is our director of social media. I cannot speak really enough about her or Jen Day. They go out to news. They meet Sony. They celebrate. At the same time, we have 5 or 6 or 7 different contractors that contribute drone footage, photography, and video. And 3 of them. So we get awesome content about your community. Next slide. Okay, we can't see these videos, and it's okay because these are videos that encompass the community. They're not really specific, but they are videos that short. As you can see, they're only 1 to 16 seconds, but they evoke feel. And one step on my tab, they capture the moment of everything that we do. Next slide. So we recently did a collaboration in California, and I'm happy to say that they work with on Capitola. There was 2 videos they did. This is one specific to Shadowbrook. As you can see on Facebook, we got over 2 million organic views, almost 2,000 comments, but small 3,000 shares. Goosebumps saying that's what I'm arguing. Just Instagram with 4,060 likes and comments, 7,900 shares. That's phenomenal. And that's not just for us, it's reaching California as well. Next slide, please. So let's talk kickoff. You are getting official logo, new logo. Visit County, starting a new website. We're doing videos on the public website at the end of this month. Website is kickoff 2026. We're using taglines and kickoff, all kinds of fun things that we're doing. VFC is an official sponsor of the Dairy Committee, which for all of the activities. Huddle is meeting early, and met with the huddle. The first thing I said was, I don't want to drive this bus. Well, guess what? This is Santa Cruz driving this bus. I knew that was. Like I said, we'll be able to this month. And then Santa Cruz was working with businesses. Melissa Deegan, my community engagement professional, is working with businesses right now in schools to get activations going, events, special offers, like even special drinks. I need to pay the problem in Santa Cruz Soccer Bowl, and showing the allowed me to do that. I really want to make sure that Santa Cruz things like that change. When this, because we had so much, I don't know, Santa. We watch parties everywhere, so we're working with Tom, a large screen. We can do a large watch party. We're working with each boardwalk. My mouth. I am. So we're working with each boardwalk. See if they can. So we're working with Comcast. We want to see watch parties. The thing is, we have 1,000 people. We have special permission in the area. What's going to probably do those. In fact, in the area, a couple of large watch parties allowed. We have most them that only watch party in this area is, and so we're really working hard on it. Next slide. So some future initiatives. What you're seeing there is Museum of Art History. You look at on the right side of the door, those are the offices. And so the option to make it is to have more work today small would like since we had an office. That's pretty much at the cost. It's just so creative, so easy to collaborate in the office that we spent. I go, I love being there now. Since I've been the last couple of years, we have a reimagined guide, which is the best guide we had. We have a reimagined website. It's so easy. It's so many. Also, County Center will be opening up in a month. Let's put it that way, at the end of November. We had some setbacks, but I will tell you, it's going to be so crazy. My voice is going to crack. Because I told you earlier that I am an autism advocate, this center will be the finest visitor center in the West. Any autism activities, we will have a quiet room for those who are on the spectrum who need that quiet space. At the same time, we've also got a separate room in that visitor center that we're putting together right now with a 180-degree projection room, so that those that have mobility issues can sit in the room and experience walking through the Henry Redwoods, or walking through the main, or walking through the agricultural fields of Washington. They're really cool. So moving forward, we're also going to hopefully coordinate a tremendous amount of FIFA World Cup celebration activity. Get everybody down here that comes from out of the country, come down and see Santa Cruz, to see Capitola, to see Washington, Scotts Valley, and the county. And at the same time, because we're a certified autism center, and because Scotts Valley, God bless, took us on what we did, and they became a certified autism center, and worked diligently with the county to see if we can get the county to be a certified autism destination, which is a tremendous work. And I think it's really going to help, because you know what? In place I'll ever live, the county. And in some places where they didn't want people with disabilities or people with autism, and I love this, because this is the place where people can come and realize no matter what their conditions. So that, and I really, what disappointment I have in not being able to see the video. This is our most recent television commercial. It is more than just a banana slug, although I will admit that I am a banana slug, a fan, Cruz, Jesse Gordon. But this is a 30-second commercial, and I'll send you guys a link on YouTube. And it's really with a mean voice, really super women, but I will think that you can find on YouTube really. So they have talked so fast. I appreciate all the things you guys do. I appreciate you inviting me down. And thank you to Capitola, and thank you to Anthony and Terry for all they do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions for our speaker? I have one. Just we need to make sure we have a watch party in the Esplanade Park for World Cup. Let's do it. I'm sorry, Jared, do you have a question?
Yeah, not exact questions, just some comments about all the presentations tonight. But Terrence, thank you. Kate, did you have more to add, or I have my comments at the end?
Yeah, I have a few slides about economic development and what we're doing.
I'll wait, sorry.
So, okay. So thank you all. Those were great presentations and updates. I just wanted to give you an overview. So during the last fiscal budgeting cycle, you as a council gave us direction to change the name of the Community Development Department to Community and Economic Development Department, with a focus of really understanding the shift in retail spending right now and more online sales, and seeing vacancies within our village and along 41st Avenue, and a focus on how can we help our businesses. So with that, I want to give you a few updates. Within the budget, we adopted a new mission statement, and this is really focused on some of the language that was in our strategic plan. I'm not going to read this to you, but you'll see it's not only about planning and building, it's also about our businesses and economic development. So next slide, please. Tonight we had our partner entity presentations, and they were excellent. So what are we doing as a department? One of the
bigger things that we're doing right now is I'm working on a 41st Avenue corridor plan. And I'll say working closely with our Public Works Department as well. And this is going to create a long-term vision for 41st Avenue. It's all about placemaking. When you go down 41st Avenue, if you didn't know, the ocean was at the end of the street as you get off Capitola. There's some public art, but not much. And there's a lot of stores that you could find in most places in the United States. So the identity is not quite as strong as we'd like it to be. So the focus here is to really create a great placemaking identity. Also looking at multimodal transportation. As a cyclist, it's not my favorite street to ride down. It's quite dangerous. And we have comments from our local residents about just the, crossing 6 lanes of the street is challenging. So with that, we're looking at not only economic development, but also transportation. And with the anticipation of additional housing on 41st Avenue, this is the time to plan for it. Next slide. We're also working on our Capitola Mall zoning code updates, and within that, one of our within our consultant team, there's been Noble Planning, but also an economic development consultant on that team. So as we go through the exercise of creating objective standards for mall redevelopment, one of those standards that we'll be looking at, or one of the items that will have to be reviewed, is a fiscal analysis of future mall redevelopment and what's proposed and what the just really understanding as we're losing retail and bringing in different uses, what that looks like. And just as a part of that, we will be looking at the benefits of hotels. Hotels bring in a 12% TOT tax, all of which goes to the city. And the difference between that and other taxes, our sales tax is at 9.25%, but the city only receives 1.5% of that. And our property tax, which is 1% of the assessed value of the property, the city only receives, it's approximately 7.47% of that. So those bringing in a hotel versus retail can have a huge economic benefit to the city. So next slide. Wharf Master Plan. So this, we've been working on this year. Back in June, we brought updates to the City Council and got direction to move forward with a market, a flexible market space, but also including the full restaurant, which our residents and visitors have loved over the years. So Fuse Architecture is working on that now. We've been meeting with them. I'm hoping to bring you updates on that. It's going a little bit slower as we're really focused on the mall objective standards right now, but that will be in the new year, I think, when you actually see the final plan. Once we do have that master plan, the idea is to take that master plan and publish it within a request for proposals and utilize that to create a public-private partnership and have a private entity come into Capitola that wants to develop that new market space on the Capitola Wharf, and we would lease out the space to them. So that's in the works. Great attraction for the village. And then business engagement. So right now, we're trying to engage more with businesses. Right now, the focus on 41st Avenue with the 41st Avenue corridor study. We've been having stakeholder meetings, and then with the zoning code updates, meeting with the businesses. We've got actually in the next 2 weeks, 2 different rounds of stakeholder meetings based on those both of the studies. And then also I've started attending the Chamber of Commerce meetings, which are great. It's a new way to collaborate. I'm going to get Carrie my link to the survey for 41st Avenue, since she's got good reach. But yeah, that's been a great new engagement. So, and next slide. So, and lastly, during the budget, City Council allocated $20,000 towards on-call services for economic development. We are contracting with Kaiser Marston, and they're really well known for their work of working with municipalities. And so I'll be collaborating with them. On the bottom of the slide, you can see the different items within their scope of looking at vacancies, fiscal analysis of projections and development applications, incentivizing the new hotels, and then as needed on-call support. So Lastly, I'm available for questions or to take in comments. We're all available within the presentation. And I just want to thank you for making this a priority for the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's start over here with questions.
Yeah, not exactly a question, but first of all, Katie, thank you for pulling this together, and also to the Chamber, the BIA, and also Visit Santa Cruz. I'm lucky enough to sit on the board of Visit Santa Cruz. I think I've attended 2 meetings now. I also sit on the Chamber board for many years, and when I'm invited, I attend some BIA meetings and stuff. Everybody's doing all these dynamic things and everything, and I also appreciate now that you're attending the Capitola SoCal Chamber thing. One thing I see though is maybe the possibility of some maybe duplication, that some items that are going on, and I was wondering if a proposed idea would be some collaboration amongst those, with your new department, but with those, would there be quarterly meetings to kind of maybe sync up so everybody can kind of see the latest things? I know the Chamber is going through some rebranding, and they're going to be doing some, new things for next year. And then you look at what the BIA is doing, so it's not duplication on the same thing. I know at the same time the Chamber focuses on SoCal, because anybody that goes to SoCal, then they usually come to Capitola, and then the overlying thing. So just an idea that maybe you guys could look at quarterly meetings or something to kind of pull together and sync up the great ideas and all the amazing things everybody's doing. But it's amazing to see, I see these things firsthand quite a bit, one by one. But when you stand back and you get a presentation like that, I think it was Councilmember Westman who had the idea about requesting having this presentation by these three. It's nice to stand back and look at the amazing thing that most of it's all by volunteer that are going on to try to create that tax base for us that makes our city thrive. So again, thank you to everybody, and thank you, Katie, for what you're doing too.
Yeah, Katie. Just looking at the big picture, many jurisdictions have whole departments on, just for economic development, or they have their whole, just a staff for economic development. Realistically, what can we get with $20,000? Because I feel like $20,000 really isn't a lot of money for an economic boost. I feel like we need to allocate more money for this work. So I'm curious to hear from you what we can do.
Yeah, so with the $20,000, I think it's a good starting point. We're taking a big step, and within the items that we could do, it's really one idea that I've had. I think the hotel, really looking at our code and how to support hotel redevelopment here is really important. Just knowing how the fiscal return is, and to bring back money into the not only creating jobs, but also bringing back money and making our city sustainable. But I think the next step after that, I'm not sure we'll get around. I know we won't get around to it in 2025, but possibly in 2026. Is really looking at our code and how can we make it easier for businesses to come into our city. We try to get them to Planning Commission as soon as possible if they have a CUP. But as we've been going through this exercise of removing barriers to housing, I think it's really important that we start to think about removing barriers to our businesses, because they put a huge investment up front to be here. And I think that's probably the next step in this whole equation.
I think downtown Santa Cruz, they were doing something like that, where they incentivize businesses to come into the space by, subsidizing rent, or not, allowing them to be there for a few months to establish themselves, and really get their footing before they have to start paying. So, those are great ideas. I think we should explore. So thank you for your work.
Questions over here.
I've been trying to think about how to ask this question because I don't want it to be a criticism. But, there are an awful lot of events that go on here in Capitola, particularly in the village. And sometimes I wonder if all of the events are benefiting the businesses, or are there so many events that some of the businesses aren't benefiting because the village is so crowded on oftentimes. So I wonder, it seems like all three organizations are involved in putting on various events. Some events come where people come to the city. Is there any kind of coordination about, can we spread these out over the year so they're more evenly paced, or is that some part of economic development?
We updated our special events policy last year. And in looking at that, we did look at, can we put some type of cap on it? Because there is an exhaustion point, I think, towards the end of, I think October is actually one of our busiest months for special events. So next month is kind of when everything slows down. But I think when you offer public space, there's a process that we have to go through. And for the larger events, it has to come in front of city council, but we have to offer that opportunity. So I don't think that you can put a maximum amount onto special events. But we're very much aware of it, and also the strain it puts on police services and staff. So, and
I was really wondering, have we coordinated with the businesses to see, are these activities benefiting them, or are these activities, do they create any kind of problems for them?
I'll look to, if Anthony wants to come up.
So the BIA events, we've pushed all of our events to the shoulder season. That's the time of the year where we would like to see more events happening and bringing them in there. In the summer season, this is kind of out of our control. And most of the time, those events aren't coordinated with us. Very few events, outside of the Art and Wine is coordinated with us, and a car show is. But most other events, people can apply with permits. We've worked with Sarah on this over and over again. They apply. If it meets the requirements, they can get the permit. We would like more interaction with some of these events so that we can coordinate with them. And a lot of the times they bring outside vendors in. We would be more than happy to contribute and work with them for those events. But in the summertime, some of our busiest weekends are when there are no events going on. It is just people coming to the beach, visiting, traveling, staying in the lodging properties. But all of our events, we have pushed to November, February, May, like specifically our sip and strolls in the off-season events, so that we can drive that traffic when the merchants need it the most.
Thank you very much. I just hope everybody can coordinate together so we can do the best we can for people who live here, our visitors, and the businesses. Thank you.
No questions, just I'm really kind of excited. It's nice to get a broad picture of everything that's sort of going on in Capitola and around. To your question, and just from being an employee in the village, I think that unfortunately, the Begonia Festival ceased, but we do have the Beach Festival, which is great, but it is no longer on Labor Day weekend, which I think was a great sort of asset to the calendar as far as events goes. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the collab from all these entities brings, and I think it's exciting time. So thanks for all the efforts.
Great. See no further questions. We'll take it to public comment. No public comment on the great presentations. We'll bring it back. We don't have to make a motion or anything for this, but this presentations, any further discussion? Great. Thanks again for everybody that was part of the presentations. It's enlightening, and we know we do good things here, but it's really nice to see how really good we do things here. So thank you, everybody. It is almost past 8:30. I think we need to take a quick minute break. 3-minute break. Okay, fine. Will bring us back to item C, 2021 CDBG grant closeout.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm really excited to introduce you to Paul Ashby who has been working on our CDBG grants. So he has been an asset to the city of Capitola for many years, more recently through the pandemic and helping us get our coronavirus money out, and then a lot of money that goes towards our food services in Capitola and larger projects like the recent Jade Street Community Center and the Jade Street Park, which are actively occurring now. So with that, Paul Ashby of Adams Ashby.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Paul Ashby, Adams Ashby Group. Good to see a few of you again. Like Katie mentioned, I've been working with the city for just a little over 10 years, actually, on your CDBG money, your home money, and your PLHA money. So a little bit of state, a little bit of federal money in there. Tonight, we are going to be going over 3 grant closeouts, actually, under your CDBG contracts. CDBG, you can tell I've been doing it for 20 years. That stands for Community Development Block Grant. So just really quick crash course in CDBG. I know you've had a lot of presentations tonight. There's 2 programs. There's the entitlement and the non-entitlement program. The city of Capitola, because of your size, you are in the non-entitlement program, meaning that you compete for these funds every year or every other year, depending on when that NOFA, Notice of Funding Availability, comes out. Whereas some of your larger cities and counties get a direct allocation from HUD. So in your case, you applied to HCD, Housing and Community Development, in 2021 and were awarded 3 contracts for public services for the food programs that you see on your screen there, which would be the 2008 contract, the 09 contract, and the 10 contract. We have Gray Bears, Community Bridges, and Second Harvest for a grand total of $497,196. So again, these are the 3 organizations that you funded. Every year depends on what you can apply for. Actually, in the next item on this agenda, we'll actually cover a little bit of the next round of CDBG. But for this, we partially chose these 3 food programs because A, you work with them and we know that there's a need. We also developed a pretty good working relationship with them during the pandemic, as Katie mentioned, with your CDBG CV money, which was COVID-19 money. Next slide, please. So the first contract, 21 CDBG 20008, was for the Gray Bears program. This is their healthy food distribution program. You can see there that they were awarded and successfully expended $56,000. Approximately 63,000 pounds of food was delivered to seniors, and they approximately served 300 individuals through their homebound nutrition meals program. All of these funds were expended. Gray Bears expended their funds rather quickly. They had the least amount out of everybody, but they were actually able to get their money out within 12 months. So they've been exhausted for a little while. We're now just coming back so that we can close them all at the same time. Next slide, please. So Community Bridges, this is the 2009 contract. This is for their Meals on Wheels and their Lift Line program. They were awarded the most grant funds. They had the highest need and it applied for the most to the city when we had inquired with them. Their total allocation was for $320,000. Total of 40,829 meals were served and also had 289 wellness checks. I also did have a few notes from them that I would just like to share that with these monies, they were able to actually add a 7-day-a-week breakfast delivery, which is what these monies focused on. And they recently did a survey, and I'll just read you a few of those stats. 96% reported that the Meals on Wheels helped them with their overall household budget. 76% reported improved fruit and vegetable intake. And 72% report that they've been eating breakfast more often than they used to, thanks to these Meals on Wheels programs. And the last organization, Second Harvest, who was actually here earlier tonight at the beginning of the night, city applied for and successfully gave them $119,840 for their food bank program. They obviously serve a number of distribution sites, so that just goes towards their food purchases and operations. And then a portion of that gets charged to the Capitola grant. On average per quarter, it was anywhere from 35 to 40,000 pounds of food that was going out of those distribution sites that your funds were able to assist folks with. So we're here for the closeout. All of those funds, $497,000, have been expended and drawn down. CDBG is a reimbursement process. So when we call them subrecipients. When the subrecipient incurs these expenses, they send us a quarterly report that comes to myself and to Katie. It gets reviewed, processed, the city pays it. And then once you pay it, it gets sent to the state for reimbursement. So all of these funds have now been drawn down. And we are now here to close these contracts out. One asterisk that I just left up there is that Gray Bears and Second Harvest were awarded in your 2024 contract as well. So we're just starting those agreements now, and they'll actually be utilizing those CDBG monies in this coming quarter, which is great news. So the recommended action tonight is to receive the report, to conduct a public hearing, get any community feedback, and then direct staff to proceed with closeout to the state. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on these programs or for CDBG in general.
Thank you. Questions starting on this side. Across the board, no questions. You did a good job. Thank you. Everybody left. We will take that to public comment. See no public comment, we'll bring it back to council for deliberation. And we only need the action of continuing this, so.
Thank you for your presentation. You don't need a motion, right?
Nope, no motion
Great
needed.
program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No motion, there's no resolution that needs to go. It's just if you're fine to direct staff to close it out.
A lot of good work down there, thank you.
Thank you.
Item D.
Okay, item D is a CDBG block grant and the notice of funding availability. So this is a requirement within applying for the grant, the next round. And so we've got Paul Ashby of Ashby Adams Group to give you a little overview on this.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. Okay, we're back. Okay, so this is going to be extremely high level CDBG overview for their next NOFA that just came out. The city is required to hold at least 2 public hearings during a grant cycle. The last one we just did is a grant closeout, which is one of those 2. So you also need to do one before you actually apply. The intention for the city is to do a little bit more community engagement on this round and hold some outside of the city council chambers just to encourage feedback, which the state likes to see. So I've already mentioned to you that you're in the non-entitlement program and nobody had any questions on that, so I think we're good with that. HCD recently came out with their NOFA on September 30th, and they announced the availability of approximately $27 million. This is across the state. So they're challenging funds to apply for. The city has been quite successful in the past. So we're at least going to just discuss some of the changes that they've done this year to the NOFA and get any feedback that the council might have or that the public might have today. Okay, sorry, it's hard to read that from here. What's new? A couple of bullets on the what's new for this NOFA. And again, that is notice of funding availability. If you remember when we brought this to council last year and the years before, they had an over-the-counter component, which basically meant for projects that you had shovel ready at 9 a.m. on a certain date, you applied for that project, and it was on a first come, first served basis. I like to tell people it's like getting a campground in California if you ever try to do that. You have to have everything ready and submit as quickly as possible. Capitola, over the last 2 rounds, was extremely successful in that. And I think that goes to your staff. Katie and I have a great working relationship, and to your public works director, having everything ready to go so that as close to 9 a.m. we would try to get that submitted. In the last 2 rounds, you were successful. So you actually got close to $7 million in the last 2 rounds doing that. That component has now been removed. I just want everybody to know that because that's a pretty big change. So now they're going to go back to scoring, which is what they've done in the past. You still will have to have a shovel-ready project, i.e. plans, specifications, cost estimates, schedules, everything like that still needs to be ready, but it will go back to scoring and not first come, first serve basis. Set aside funding. So as a way to encourage applicants who have not received funding or who have not applied to CDBG funds over the last 5 years, the state is making a set aside of money for those applicants to apply. It does not apply to you. As I just mentioned, you folks have been very successful in receiving that money. I'm just letting you know because it means that the pie is getting smaller out of that $27 million. And the scoring system has been updated, which I've already hit on, and we'll be reviewing with staff in greater detail. Okay, so this slide lays out what you're actually able to apply for. It's a lot of information, and I'm gonna just quickly, I wanna be able to show you this, and then I'll hit on each one of those topics in greater detail, and then if we need to, we can go back to that. So that I can kind of show you what you're able to apply for. But the biggest things to keep in mind is that you're limited. So whenever we go to that, maximum of 3.6 million, there's a maximum combinations you can do. So when we talk about projects, i.e. public works, infrastructure, facility, it's one project across the board, not multiple. So just want to put that out there. The application date on that slide is January 30th, 2026. I am under the impression that that date is going to change. It's HCD has been a little gray area lately due to the shutdown. So HCD is still operating, and they're paying all of your funds requests now for your current contracts. I'll just say that right now to address that item. But they have had some question marks on this next NOFA, so it sounds like there may be some delays, but when I made this presentation, that's the date that we were going off of. Okay, so projects, you can do a maximum of one, as I mentioned. This is public improvements or facilities, so think roadways, streets, sewer, water, storm drain, community center, Jade Street Park, things like that we've been doing. So one project, maximum is $3.3 million. And as I mentioned, this needs to be quote unquote shovel ready. Next slide, please. Programs. So under this, you have a few things that you can do. You can go up to $1.5 million. We have underneath this housing as well as economic development programs. So these are not projects. So when I say housing programs, I'm referring to owner-occupied rehab programs or down payment assistance programs. The city did those programs in 2014. You partnered with your housing authority and utilized some money for that in the past. It was a difficult program to run just based on values in this city. And then as far as economic development, just to hit on that, since you created a new department recently, that would be for programs, again, not projects. So think business assistance, loans, economic micro assistance, technical assistance, things like that. You did use some of your CDBG CV, the COVID-19 money, to do some of that business assistance. You partnered with the SBCA. Public services. Okay, so a maximum of 2 on this one. This can be up to $300,000. We've already discussed this quite a bit, but you can do a range of public services. I listed some bullets there: homeless services, recreational services, health services, and obviously food programs, which you've been using. So last round, you could do a maximum of 2. And one of the reasons we derived at Gray Bears and Second Harvest is that we needed 2, and they had both used all their money and time. So again, you can go up to 2 programs for this, for your public service component. And then the last component of this NOFA would be the planning, which you can go up to $300,000 as well. And this is truly planning dollars. So think some sort of comprehensive plan, components of your CI plan, feasibility studies, that may lead to a project that benefits the community of Capitola. Next slide. Okay, so this slide shows the city of Capitola, obviously, and it highlights some of the block groups that you have. CDBG requires, let me back up. There's 3 national objectives with CDBG. The benefit to low, moderate income persons, elimination of slums and blight, and an urgent need. We'll table the last 2 because they don't come into play very often. So primarily, we use these monies for benefiting low, moderate income persons. CDBG defines that as 80% or below the county median income. In order to apply for a project, you have to benefit a block group or a service area that is 51% or more of that number. So on the screen that you're seeing, we try to give you a map that shows your block groups that have been outlined in black, and then we've given the percentages of those block groups, and the ones that are shaded would be the ones that would be closer to meeting that 51% threshold versus ones that would not be. Your income data changed a couple years ago when the new census data came out. You used to be a city that qualified as a whole, we call it, where overall your number was over 51%. Easy. We can apply anywhere we want because it benefits the entire community. That's now changed. So the purpose of this slide is just to give you an idea of where some of those areas we would need to focus the projects per se on. It can't just be anywhere of our choosing, really. Next slide, please. So recommendations, as I mentioned, this is the first public hearing. There'll be others in the community. This item will come back to the council before any type of a resolution is generated. The idea is really just to give council a brief overview of the NOFA, take any public comment, and just have a council discussion. No formal resolution needs to be generated. And again, if you have any questions on CDBG, things you've done in the past, or this current NOFA, I'm happy to answer any that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Council questions?
No, I don't have really any questions, but it does seem like that, we've been successful in the past in some of the food programs. Certainly be nice to see us be able to continue to do something for Second Harvest and Gray Bears. Those organizations serve a lot of people in our community. Thank you.
I'll just give my comments since we're doing that. I didn't know about our qualifying areas, so that was kind of cool information to get a little bit more acquainted with. And yeah, I want to echo what Ms. Westman said. I think if obviously we're entering some pretty scary times as far as help and assistance, so hopefully these grants and stuff can continue to help those that need it in our community. So thanks for all the work.
I'm just curious, can we get awarded grants for all 4 of those categories for a cumulative grant award of like $5 million?
So the maximum, if we can go back to that one slide, I can quickly just give you that summary. It's probably slide number 3 or 4. But the maximum is going to be 3.6 across the board. So we can't go to 5.
Although there's a maximum for each category, we can't like max it out all 4.
Yeah, 3.6 we're going to be capped out at. So if we went to, you can do any combination of this basically. So I'll give you a good example. Last 2023, we did the community center for 3.3 million and then did the 2 food programs for 300, which was the max, and you got 3.6. So that's the idea of that combination that you can do, but it can never exceed 3.6 million.
Got it. And you kind of touched on this already, that because we've been so successful, we may not have high priority this time because it's not first come, first serve. So we'll just have to hold our breath, or what percentage of people actually apply, and what do you think would be the probability we'll get some funding for next year?
All really good questions. I get that question a lot. So I think that the first come, first serve obviously was a great benefit to your city, and you guys were able to take advantage of it for a number of reasons. But again, your staff was really well prepared, and we were able to get it done. As far as the scoring goes, some of the numbers you can't control, which is your low mod data and your poverty scores. Your scores are not that high compared to others, I'll be honest. You're probably middle of the ground. So the over-the-counter component, losing it probably hurts you a little bit more than it helps you. Now, as far as that set-aside money and who's received money and who hasn't, it's an interesting question because I obviously work with other cities. Since 2020, I don't know of anybody that I work with personally that hasn't received some sort of funding in the last 5 years. It'd be odd to keep on applying and never get anything. So the state's really asking and looking for folks who have been absent of CDBG for over 6 years, which I don't know who that will be. Usually it's people that are clued into the program, not somebody that just says, hey, I'm going to apply to this. I heard about this. Because there's obviously a lot of work that goes into it. When you talk about a project having to have plans and specs ready, it's time and it's money up front from the city. So I can never give you a probability. I will always say, you've been very fortunate in the past, and I hope that it continues. The pie keeps shrinking, though. So,
No, just to echo, thank you for your help. And again, thank you to Jessica and Katie for having those plans ready to go, shovel ready. And thanks for highlighting that and getting that funding and helping us through that. So thank you.
Thank you. I have no questions. We'll take it to public comment. Seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back for further discussion. I would just like to say keep that scoreability going so that we can see some funding, because we've been pretty fortunate. Let's just keep it going. So thank you very much.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Bring us to item E, award of construction contracts for the Treasure Cove Playground and the J Street Park restroom renovation.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council members. Very excited to bring this one to you this evening, but I will also do my best to keep it relatively brief. So we are here to award construction contracts for the Jade Street property. So back in June, you all approved the construction plans for both the playground, the restroom renovation, and our patio project. That patio project was awarded earlier this year. They started work on that last month. There's a lot of grading going on that site right now. This projects on this full site are funded through our general funds, fundraising from the County Park Friends who are in the audience this evening, and then that aforementioned CDBG grant funding for 2 rounds that we were successful with Paul. These projects fulfill our commitments under our long-term use agreement with the elementary school district, who we are great partners with. And yes, this is a multifaceted, multi-partner project. Move forward. Next slide, please. So the scope of the playground is complete demolition of the existing playground structure and also grading, drainage, utilities, the whole 9 yards. To develop a fully accessible playground, we have hardscape paths and fencing that go around that playground, play zones for younger and older children, and then of course site furnishings, irrigation, and improved landscaping. The engineer's estimate for this project was about $2.3 million, and the construction duration is about half a year. Next slide, please. So we advertised for bids for this project over the summer in July and opened them in August, and we received 4 bids. However, not all of them were responsive, which I go into what responsive means in following slides. But the lowest responsive and responsible bid was from SSB Construction for about $2.4 million, which is about 5% above the engineer's estimate for this project. Next slide, please. So a responsive, there's 2 parts of a bid when you, with the public contract code, when you receive them that you analyze, and that's for responsibility and for responsiveness. And responsiveness is very much, did you submit all of the forms that you were supposed to submit for this project? And for these projects, since they're funded by CDBG, which is federal funds, had quite a bit more forms than a lot of other like pavement projects we do with local funds or state funds. And so if they don't submit all of these items at bid opening, it's considered non-responsive because they didn't fill out all the paperwork they were supposed to. For a bid to be responsible is a little bit harder to determine because it's really, is the contractor have the expertise and the staff, types of projects they've done before, that they can responsibly complete this project. And so while all of these bids we received were responsible, these were all contractors that could do the work. The ones that did not fill out all the paperwork are non-responsive. So of the 4 bids, only 2 of them were responsive and could be considered eligible for award. Next slide, please. So, right, those are valid bids. They had all the required documents for CDBG and the city. And then after bid opening, there were more forms for CDBG to fill out, and these needed to also jive with what they submitted initially. So even though 2 of the bids that we had, the numbers written down were lower, below the engineer's estimate and below the contract we want to award this evening, they aren't valid. So it's basically like they did not submit a bid at all. They cannot be accepted. We cannot award something to a non-responsive bid. Next slide, please. So for the restroom component, this is to convert our current multi-user restrooms to 2 single-user restrooms with adult changing tables, and those are changing tables for anyone larger than an infant, so children as well as adults. New entries, finishing, lighting, fixtures, roof, the whole 9 yards again. As an engineer's estimate for this project was about $500,000 and a construction duration of 90 days. Next slide, please. So we received 3 bids for this project. We opened them a couple of weeks ago, and the lowest bid was for $484,000 from CWS Construction out of Novato. All bids received for this project were both responsive and responsible. So the whole budget overall for the full site, so that's including the renovation of the community center, the patios, the playground, and the restroom, so 4 separate contracts, are within our available budget of about $10.8 million. However, we are lacking a contingency budget for the restroom project. Again, we are required to award these projects in the bid amount submitted. We can't give a contract under a reduced amount. However, we can amend the contracts after they are awarded. So we have reviewed some minor scope refinements in collaboration with the County Park Friends, and then also Verdi Design, who was the designer for the playground project, to reduce some of the scope to get us to that contingency we need to take us through the rest of this project. Next slide, please. So I'm going to describe those in detail. One of them has to do with a seating area inside of the park fencing, and the other one has to do with a path of travel. Next slide, please. So that area there on the bottom left of the playground is artificial turf and a seating wall. Kind of, you can see the seating wall from the bottom left. We would propose to be taking this seating out, adjusting the fence so it is no longer within the fenced area, and replacing it with sensory landscape, which was also a benefit to the project. We anticipate that cost impact to save around $96,000. Next slide, please. There is an existing path of travel from around the backside of the softball field to the park entrance that is in DG. When we bid this project, we bid this out to be concrete. It does not necessarily need to be concrete. It can remain DG and still be a path of travel. It's just not an all-weather path of travel. There is a path of travel from the parking lot to the playground that is part of the project. And so a potential cost saving here would be to not upgrade that to concrete at a cost savings of about $83,000. Next slide, please. So those 2 things are summarized on this slide. The idea would be to implement these cost-saving changes only as needed. The path of travel is something that can be done towards the end of the project because it is not in the playground space. And this is something that we would negotiate. Both of these items would be something we negotiate with the contractor after award. Next slide, please. So again, our total program budget for this site is about $10.8 million from multiple funds, including funds from the Natural Resources Agency, not the other NRA, sponsored by Assembly Member Don Addis. Took me a minute. I'm like, what is that grant? And then our major expenditures, obviously, are the components that we discussed earlier in the presentation, the largest of which being the community center renovation. Next slide, please. So right now we are fully under construction with both the patio and the renovation project. I owe you all an update at our December meeting on that project and hopefully also the playground project. If awarded this evening, we would be closing the park for construction next week to get a demo going on prior to the rainy season really happening. And barring any unforeseen circumstances, we'd expect all three of these sites to be reopened for the summer of 2026. And the recommendation is on the screen, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions on this side?
No questions.
No questions. Great. That'll take it to public comment. Thank you for sticking around. Welcome.
Welcome, Mayor Clark and council members. Thank you for getting us to this point. Just congratulations on a successful bid. Many thanks to Jessica for finding those cost savings and keeping them away from the play elements, which is very important so that all children will have something to play with. And also for the due diligence staff did on the bids. This is going to be such a great project. Thank you, council, for supporting this vision and bringing us to this point. Thank you, staff, for all you've done, both CDBG grant and just can't be more pleased. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Mayor Clark, council members. Thank you for your service. My name is Mariah Roberts, Executive Director of County Park Friends, and I'm here really just to mark a significant moment and milestone in the community that is Treasure Cove at J Street Park, universally accessible playground. Thanks, everyone. We want to recognize each of you on the council. We want to recognize staff who've just been amazing partners to work with throughout this project. We're the nonprofit partner to the County Parks Department, but we serve every resident of Santa Cruz County. This is the first project we've done with Capitola, and it's just been an absolute pleasure, period. Public Works Director Jessica Kahn, thank you. You should be commended for managing each phase with an eye on the vision put forth by the community. Chloe, Jamie have been amazing partners as well, and everyone else. Thank you so much. We both raised more money than we set out to do, and therefore we get to do this beautiful playground. It's thanks to the supporters and friends who rallied the community, and we are forever grateful. Congratulations on a project that will serve now and for generations to come.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Clark and council members. My name is Tricia Wiltshire, and I was the campaign manager for County Park Friends. And I know it is past 9 o'clock, and I have a teen who's well past his bedtime, so tomorrow is going to be fun. But he may be a 15-year-old playing video games now, but at one point he was a 3-year-old. So I just want to tell you a story because it is blowing my mind that 12 years ago, he was a 3-year-old, and I distinctly remember taking him to a playground, and he wheeled his wheelchair right up to that ADA compliant transfer station, and then I watched him. He wanted to go up top with his friends because that's where the kids always run. They run to the top of the play station, right? And I watched as he drug his body out of his wheelchair, and step by step, he was dragging himself up, and his little hands were on the steps, and there were his little friend's feet stamping right by, and he was jostled. And I remember sitting there as a parent, and we all want the best for our parents, for our kids, and we know what it's like when we can't actually provide something that we really desperately want and that they want. And it was so hard to sit there and watch him struggle up that stairway because he didn't want me to help him either. And by the time he got to the top, he was so tired he couldn't play. And so I just when I took him to our first inclusive playground where he could use his wheelchair and chase his sisters all around, all the way to the top of the play structure, and didn't encounter those boundaries that we had that were so heartbreaking, I just knew we needed to find another way. And I have to tell you, other communities have spent years trying to get these kinds of playgrounds in place, and it has not been the case here. I know that Leo's Haven was the inspiration, but you guys truly are an inspiration, and I'm not just saying that because I want to get my way on playground design. It is, you have the heavy burden of taking the vision of parents like me, like Dan, and other members of our community, all kids, and taking the vision and the intent and dealing with the nuts and bolts of money and grants and design. And that is not a thing to take lightly. And I just have to thank Jessica so much, because I really felt it, as well as you guys, but I really have to say a shout out. You got it. When I said sensory is a big deal, you got it. When you said adult changing tables, big deal, happened. And these cost savings, she did a better job, the team did a better job of finding cost efficiencies than we did at Leo's Haven, but I'm not telling you what we cut out, because we want everyone to think that all these playgrounds are awesome. And honestly, it will be for generations and generations, bringing joy and inspiration to all of us. So thank you.
Thank you. See no further comment, we'll bring it back for council deliberation.
Somebody should make a motion to approve it.
I'd make the motion to approve the recommended action.
I'll second that.
It is a great project. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Orbach?
Aye.
Councilmember Westman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Morgan?
Aye.
And Mayor Clark?
Aye, the resolution passes.
I just want to thank you. I didn't get to make a comment, but thank you, Tricia, for the beautiful, heartfelt story you told about parenthood, about struggle, about that moment when you realized that there was a lack in the community and your vision to fight for this. And it's amazing what you have been able to accomplish. We together with the County Park Friends, I'm so inspired by all of you, and I think our staff, and it's going to be a wonderful project, and we get to benefit because of all your advocacy and hard work. So thank you. Thank you.
Staff.
I did have one other announcement I wanted to make, is the community and the council and everyone is invited to an event on the 28th, coming up next week at 10 a.m. to celebrate this project. It's being planned in coordination with Friends Group, and everyone's welcome. Should be a good time and should be a real celebration. 10 a.m., that's what I tried to say, next Tuesday, yes.
Thank you for the reminder of that. That'll be a great morning. Bringing us to item F, Administrative Policy, Code of Conduct.
Exactly what everyone wants to discuss at 9:06. All right. I have a presentation prepared. Before I start, I'm going to ask for the little bit of patience from the council. There are a lot of moving parts in this document. I've prepared a red line based on feedback that we received from the council in the last meeting. Between the time that I circulated that red line and tonight, I have spoken with various council members. Because of the Brown Act, I did not share your comments with each other. What I did do, I also did not want to revise the document because some of you agree on some things, sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. So what I've done is incorporated your feedback to me into this PowerPoint. So some of the PowerPoint may include information you've seen, some of it may include information you have not seen. We're going to take it step by step, and I'll get feedback from you along the way. My goal is, and I hope it's your goal as well, to get us done with this item tonight. And so I will take your revisions. I've asked for the city clerk's help, and we will prepare a code of conduct consistent with your revisions, and hopefully that'll be the end of it for now. All righty? So Let's get started. A bit of background, the Code of Conduct was developed in September 19th in September 2019 in response to a request from the council at the time. It applies to the council, boards, and commissions. This council identified revisions to the Code of Conduct as a goal for fiscal year 25-26. In July, staff received feedback from the council on what revisions you would like. So let's look at those revisions. There's a red line attached to the staff report. I think there's actually a clean version and a red line. The red line has a lot of ink on it just because I'm only so facile with Word. So I'll go through those here and hopefully it captures everything. So the first and I bet most important provision regards the use of stationery. So I'm going to turn that over to the city manager.
Appreciate the opportunity from the city attorney to let me talk about stationery with the council. So you will recall that one of the items that we had bumped into, this was before I think we run into some more major significant issues on the Code of Conduct, was just the language around city stationery. So we proposed a change to clarify that the letterhead was really only supposed to be used for official city business. Regular stationery was just not to promote your own interests. Next slide, please. I think the city attorney got some feedback about looking for clarification about what city business meant. Went and pulled up some language from other jurisdictions' codes of conduct, and this is more restrictive, but it's very explicit. It basically says the letterhead's only to be used for this official city position. Basically, I'm writing, my state senator on behalf of the city council in support of a measure that we have all voted to approve, to support. That is more limiting than we had before, but it is very clear. And like I said, it is an example I found in a number of other codes of conduct. Alternatively, we can stick with the language that we have proposed in the packet, which is just to be that it's only for official city business. And frankly, this hasn't been a major issue. We can also stick with the language as written, which is at the bottom of the screen as well. So those are kind of the three choices, I think. It's the original proposed language. If we want to clarify what official city business means, here's a potential clarification. And if at the end of the day, we're comfortable with the original language as written, that's always an option as well.
Are we going to decide item by item?
I think it is going to be easier for you to give some feedback item by item. We're not going to take votes. My suggestion is that we get through this, get some feedback from council, then get public comment, then you'll make your decision. You'll deliberate and make your decision.
Great. I'll open it up on this side for.
Either one actually works for me.
Same. I've thought of, I haven't used any of the city stationery, but the time I have thought of using it was to write a note to the mother who lost her child on cliff drop, right? Off of the cliff. Under these two categories, would that be appropriate if I had done that, if we stuck with the first one versus the second one?
I think the only way you'd be able to use the city letterhead.
Well, not letterhead, but just the card.
Oh, the stationery. The stationery we're trying to keep out of that.
Oh, this is just letterhead.
This is the letterhead. The official letterhead says City of Capitola, has the address, the phone number at the top.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't care.
Either.
Item one.
Well, let's just leave in the additional language because it does clarify it if somebody has any questions about it.
Yeah. Yes, the yellow highlighted language is certainly the most restrictive, but it's also very clear.
I like things clear.
Okay, we can move on to the next.
You're off to an excellent start. Okay. It's all downhill from there. All right. Enforcement. Section 8. Hold on, I lost my slide. Give me just a sec. Okay. So I made a whole bunch of changes here. In part, all in response to feedback from the council. I had a few goals in making these changes. One was to streamline your complaint process. There was a lot in there about sort of mechanics and a lot involving staff. And my goal was to really streamline it and center the council in the process, because it is your process for you to govern each other. It's awkward for staff to be trying to manage the council. The council manages itself. The current procedure has you consider complaints at 2 separate meetings. I condensed that into one if you wish to consider a complaint on the dais. And I added, there was some concern expressed about notification to the complainant. I added in notification to the complainant when we get the complaint and if the complaint is dismissed. All righty. And then going to the specific complaints, the specific procedure, I added a new section. I condensed some of the language at the top of the procedure and added a new section called violations. That's sort of a condensing of a couple other sections. And the portion that I added that is a new concept is noting that this section does not apply to any legislative action taken by a member, including how a member votes on an item or any position a member takes on any particular item that is before the council. The purpose of that is that there's another remedy for that. If someone objects to your vote, they can file a writ against the decision. But using the code of conduct to file a complaint against you personally is not generally what codes of conduct are intended to do. All righty. Any feedback on that?
I like that section. I don't think the code of conduct should be about how someone votes.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to not take notes and just go back and look at the recording. Okay, now we get into some of the logistics of the complaint procedure. Currently, a complaint comes in. It's filed with this, it comes into the city clerk provides it to the manager, then to the city attorney, then I give it to the council. I changed that to make all complaints go directly to the council. And fortunately, you have an email address that people in the community use, and it goes to all council members, and so you're already set up for that procedure. That allows you to have eyes on the complaint first. Currently, your procedure does not include any acknowledgement of receipt of a complaint. I added a line that would have the mayor, vice mayor, or city clerk acknowledge it within 5 days. That gives, most complaint procedures I've seen actually put a lot of this on the mayor. I built in a little leeway for the mayor if the mayor's out of town for 5 days, and even the vice mayor. If someone doesn't get to it, the clerk is going to be able to backstop you. There's no deadline for agendizing a complaint if the council wants to hear it in open session. In the current procedure, there's no deadline for agendizing. Based on feedback from the council, I added in 45 days. Currently, one council member may agendize a discussion. I added in a blank for the council to fill in whether you would like that to, you could leave it at 1, or you could make it 2 or 3 council members to agendize a discussion. And then finally, like I said before, there's no notification in the current policy to the complainant of a dismissal. I added in a provision that allows for within 45 days, if the council doesn't agendize, the clerk or the city attorney notifies the complainant of dismissal. Alternatively, the city manager could add it to the consent calendar for dismissal, similar to a government claim, by which I mean there will be no staff report, there will be no recommendation. The only recommendation from staff would be something like, pursuant to section X, Y, and Z of policy ABC, this complaint is agendized for dismissal. So, feedback.
I would propose, in alignment with what we just did the other day, or our last city council meeting, with having items put on the agenda, that it'd be 2. And I personally like that it would be put on a consent agenda for dismissal. So it's just there's some sort of action taken by the council.
I would like to see 3 council members. I'd like to see the majority of the council wanting to move a complaint forward, whatever the reason. And I disagree. I do not want to see all the complaints come into the consent agenda. Because then, we can have frivolous complaints, unvetted complaints, things that people say and make up that are not true. And if it's on the consent agenda, anyone can pull it. If it's on the consent agenda, anyone can make a comment on it. And I don't think this body is meant for that avenue of drama or unnecessary distractions. I don't think it's a good idea.
I go for 2, and I can leave it where the dismissal's on the consent agenda. If that becomes a problem, then we can look at that again and change it.
I'm fine with 2 or 3. Majority might be better. I agree. I don't think it should be placed on consent. This is something that the policy was created to keep council accountable to one another, or for one another. It's not really meant for it being posted. I'm having a hard time wanting to add every single thing onto consent.
Okay, I think that should be left to 2 council members to agendize. And then when it comes to the consent, I think it should be added by the city manager and the mayor for dismissal. Be added to the consent agenda.
Can you say more about what you mean by added by the city manager and the mayor?
Both, because usually the mayor and the city manager sets up all the agendas for the upcoming meetings.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is use the same agenda setting procedure currently, except that goes on consent. That's what you mean.
That's probably how it would happen anyways, but yes.
Very good.
Could I ask, I know we want to move through this fast, but one thing I did think about is I think the idea is that we don't want complaints to come in and people think that they just got buried. There needs to be something public. And it would work for me for the mayor just to announce that we had received a complaint and it had been dismissed, rather than actually putting it on the consent agenda.
That could work. You could do it in council member comments.
Right.
Either way would work for me.
Okay.
I'd be much more comfortable with that.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have any language for that off the top of my head, but I'm going to write that in.
Okay.
Okay?
Let's go back to the numbers. It sounds like there's 3 members that want 2 and 2 that want 3.
So Sam, I just want to clarify, what we're asking for is just for the mayor to acknowledge that a complaint is dismissed without any of the details.
Right.
Correct. Because if it gets on the consent agenda, there's an item attached. Does the complaint get on there, right? And the complaint says this council member sexually harassed me. That is on there, unvetted.
Yes, that's correct.
And that's correct. That is the point I'm trying to make. Anyone can complain about any one of us and make up lies and continue to put in code of conduct violations.
I think Councilmember Westman's suggestion addresses that, because I hear what you're saying and you are correct. If it were on consent, it would be available for the public and the council to comment on. But I think what Councilmember Westman is saying, and I think I count a majority up there agreeing, is that all that will happen with a complaint, if a council member does not agendize it, is the mayor will say in council member comments, city received a complaint regarding a council member. The complaint has been dismissed. Very good.
Good for transparency. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all I really need feedback. Unless there's anything else on that slide that you want to give feedback on, I think I got what I need.
Okay.
All righty. Okay, here are some options for you to consider. We could insert language in this section along the lines of the following. Council recommends that whenever possible and permitted by the Brown Act, the complainant and subject consider mediation by an independent mediator. If the complaint is agendized for discussion, council requests the complainant and subject complete and submit to the council to be attached to the staff report for the item affidavits confirming that they have agreed to, affidavits confirming that they have agreed to or attended mediation, and if not, an explanation as to why mediation was unavailable or inappropriate. Discuss.
Thoughts on that?
I don't know. I want to hear from my other council members on this one.
I guess my concern would be like the city running into potential, like having to be financially responsible for like facilitating. I don't know. I just feel like that kind of leaves us open.
See, I wondered, we now have a 45-day period in here. And so to say that people have to agree that they're going to go to mediation, maybe they can't get it scheduled. You know, there's lots of stuff that goes on. So I'm a little uncomfortable with saying that they're, you know, that they have to do mediation first.
I think mediation can be an option, but it should not be a requirement. And having language there, yeah, I don't think there's language needed in there for it. I think it just kind of messes things up and doesn't mess with the timeline of 45 days, perhaps, because in my example, it took months to get a mediation scheduled, end of August, and we scheduled for October. So there's also the scheduling, the calendars of the individuals, and not all parties may want to sit down with the complainant or the subject or whatever. I think there are many factors here that we need to consider, and to have language to like require mediation may not, I don't know. I think it can be an option, but I don't think it should be a requirement.
I can agree with being an option. I just think it'd be nice if it was noted as an option, you know, as a way that the two parties could look at a remedy of trying to handle the situation.
Yeah, like maybe that should be considered first or something as a way to not.
What if we include the first paragraph but not the second?
I think that's a great idea. The first paragraph, and then the second paragraph would be, it would be suggested that.
Well, we could just nix the second paragraph.
Great.
Even better.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. I added a line saying if the council chooses to discuss the complaint at a council meeting, the subject is notified of the meeting and has an opportunity to respond. That's sort of a due process issue. Okay, next.
Add something to section 8.42. I just had some thoughts. I think in addition to being able to respond, the council member or subject accused of violating the code of conduct should be able to provide a response, a statement, and or some contextual information that will also be published in the agenda packet along with the complaint. So on the agenda packet, the complaint is there for all to see without really seeing or having any information from aside from each of us. So for, I think, just an opportunity for the council member to be able to have something also published along with the complaint, claim, I think would be fair.
Yeah, so, I mean, my goal is I think I agree with you, because my goal is for things to be equal for both people. So whatever one person gets to do, the other person gets to do, but we want to have a fair and equal hearing and discussion. So it does seem like if the complaint's going to be put in an agenda packet, then there ought to be able to be a rebuttal to that complaint that also goes in the agenda packet, so it's equal.
Okay, so if I saw 3 nods.
Oh, I agree.
Okay, 5 nods. Okay, so I'll drop in a line that says respondent will be subject of the complaint will be permitted to provide a response to the complaint to be published in the agenda packet. Okay. All righty, now we get to meeting procedures in 8.4.2. And a few, just one sec. Okay. I added two things. One, subject of the complaint agrees to recuse from the meeting or meetings at which the council hears or deliberates on the complaint, unless it will lead to lack of a quorum, in which case no subject shall recuse. And then also assuming, I should have added to this, assuming anyone who recuses will speak from the podium along with the complainant. So two separate items, one recusal, the second one kind of goes with the recusal. So thoughts?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, that works for me because I said I want things to be equal for the people. I think both people should speak from the same place. Both people should have the same amount of time.
I agree.
I think having personally gone through this experience, which was very, I think, traumatizing for all of us, and really did not look good for the city, I would have felt even less supported and silenced if I did not have my position here to represent me and be able to vote on something that I didn't agree on. So I do not agree with having to recuse, whether it be me or Susan or Margot or Joe. And that's where I stand. I think this is not I know there was the example of a legislative action where there have been vetted information, where there is some legal thing or some sensitive thing that may be true. And in this situation, this is just about how we should carry ourselves and how we should aspire to treat each other and the public. In this situation, I do not think a recusal is appropriate. If there was a law broken or something more serious, then sure, right? You're being investigated for a crime. Yes, of course you should recuse. But in this situation.
Yeah, so I'll add a couple things. I think you might be referring to the letter that was sent in public comment included on the agenda. Yeah, I read that one, and you're right. One of the differences in that scenario, that considered, I think, a state body versus the council, is you cannot require a council member to recuse, right? The state law requires recusal under certain circumstances, like if you have a conflict, for instance, under FPPC regulations. So the best that we could do in your code of conduct, which is a way for you all to govern each other, would be to say the council member who is a subject of the complaint should recuse. That's it. And then if the council member declines to recuse, the council doesn't have any real recourse. I mean, you have a legal right to be on the dais. So
Isn't that with any item that, like, I recuse on?
yeah, that's a good point.
Every
It really
item,
is.
Don't you just make suggestions to recuse, and
Yeah.
it's up to us if we want it?
Yeah, that's a good point. The difference is really the remedy, that if you don't recuse for an FPPC conflict, you could get fined by the FPPC. If you don't recuse for a 1090 conflict, you could go to jail. Those are intense remedies. If you don't recuse for this, there would truly be no remedy.
When it's outside, like an outside agency that would take that up if we didn't recuse on a certain item.
That's right. That's right. This is not that.
I have a question. So if the person doesn't recuse themselves, can they still be required to speak from the dais as the applicant was? Because I'm sorry, if you sit up here, you have more power, more everything going on for you. It's not equal if that's, so that what I wanted to come up with was rules of how we would conduct the hearing that would make it fair for both people. Because, who knows what kind of complaint we're going to get, but, we might get we might have some crazy council member at some point, and, the complaint is really the valid complaint, not the person sitting up here. So I just want balance.
Yeah, I think that they should recuse themselves, and that maybe the language could be just that. And secondly, that they do speak from the podium so that it's equal and not talking from the dais, which is maybe more authoritative. Other thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts.
Okay, so I think they should recuse and speak from the dais.
And
I think I see three.
mean,
I don't
the
know.
podium.
From the
I mean the podium. That's right. Okay. Righty, moving along to a complaint to a, I keep saying meeting because it is not a public hearing. It is a meeting. A potential meeting outline. And I really pulled this from, I don't know if we have a specific procedure that we use, but in some of my other jurisdictions, we have a specific procedure that we use for appeals of permits. And it, regardless of what timelines, what times, these are arbitrary, but this is just a pretty straightforward process. So staff report, which I anticipate being quite bare bones, council questions of staff, complainant 10 minutes, subject 10 minutes, public comment, complainant rebuttal, subject rebuttal, council questions to complainant, subject deliberations, no formal rules of evidence, meaning there's no like cross-examination, no objections. I don't want to have to hire like a legal advisor for the council to rule on objections. Any additional information has to be provided during the speaker's time, right? So someone can't come up and say, I'm taking my 10 minutes and now I have 6 witnesses and some visual aids, right? It all has to go into that 10 minutes. Or they can speak during public comment, during regular public comment. Councilmember Morgan.
I think, I think this works for here. I think that we could have something that says that this is, a typical outline of how the hearing should be structured or something like that. So
It's not a hearing. We're not judges and jury like that. This is just, it's getting really, it's a meeting. I don't know.
I'm going to throw this out there. Can we just get rid of Section 8, the enforcement?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to clarify too legally. If the council can still take any of the actions identified in Section 8.4.3, right? Whether there is a enforcement section or not. If the council decides to agendize, like, I want to have this hearing of this complaint and do all this, they can still do all this whether there is an enforcement part of the code of conduct or not.
Yeah, that's true with one exception. And I think that would be number 4 under that, which is removal of board members or commissioners. The city has a procedure for removing board members and commissioners already. And help me, I think it is that it's either the person who appointed removes, or maybe it's just a quorum or majority.
I think there's a couple different questions going on at the same time here. I think everything in the code of conduct that they could do to each other, they could still do.
That's not my question.
But I think you're answering the question about removing someone from a board and commission.
Yeah.
And so removal of board and commission, there's some special language about the planning commission that the individual who appointed can remove.
Yes.
Alternatively, a majority of the council can remove.
Okay, so if that's the language, then the answer to your question is yes, because a majority of the council, all of these are actions that the council is legally empowered to take. So a majority of the council could take any of these actions regardless of whether you have a procedure.
So we can do all of this whether we have something written or not. This is just getting so messy and so confusing, and just like how the language of the current code of conduct is just so messy until we have another one. This is just going to take so much of our time, and it's just going to be destruction after destruction, really taking away from our work to serve our community and move projects forward and think about ways to improve our community. These guidelines, I mean, truly, what is the mission of the code of conduct? I think is for us to aspire to be respectful and to live at our highest ideals. And like this thing is just getting out of hand, the nitty gritty of it, the details of it.
Well, I do like the wording where it says potential meeting outline.
And I agree with that too, and that having an outline is very helpful. It's even helpful before there even becomes a problem that we know how the potential meeting can go. I like it.
I mean, I would leave the word, I think you put potential in there, so that's your recommend. But I would leave that word in there because it, and I even thought this could be sort of an addendum to it, but I'm okay where it is.
My only feeling of the benefit of having it is for a complainant might not know when they file a code of conduct what this means, and to understand that you mean there might be a hearing. I don't just get it. I was looking at the other side. It might have somebody think, maybe I should just go sit down with the person and talk to them, or maybe I should go talk to city staff and see if there's some engagement, other than to know that this is what a process could look like. And I'm not saying it might deter, but it might be like, I wonder if it was really to that level, and maybe we should sit down and talk about it. So I saw an outline, draft, and shall, and potential hearing could look like this. I mean, I think we're on the same page that if two council members put it on the agenda to talk about it, they can, who knows what the code of conduct, it might need more than the proposed 10-minute outline. So I think just an outline to somebody to understand what the impact could be through a code of conduct would be a good tool.
I would note that those times are longer than we have generally done for appeal hearings.
Sounds like a long time.
Yeah, so I mean,
Insane.
if we were to include that as an example, you may want to just have an X's and Y's there, and like.
I don't care if it be 5 minutes as long as it's equal.
We're just saying this is a potential meeting outline. It doesn't mean it has to be this exact time. I mean, we're not saying every hearing will be 10 minutes, It's just to give us a framework so we have. I mean, I don't even think we need to put times in there. It's just that they will have equal time. The complainant and the subject will get equal time. They'll get equal rebuttal time.
It should be up to a certain amount of time, though, I think, because some of these things could probably drag on quite lengthy. I like that.
It could be set by the mayor.
What's set by the mayor?
The time limits. I mean, usually what we like to do for an appeal is circulate the schedule in advance so people know so that they can prepare. What I'm trying to avoid is making it, if you want to have a procedure, making it so that you have to decide on that procedure in one meeting. And then I'm trying to condense all of this. This is...
Yeah, I think I had a lot of these questions during my go around. And I think people missed my question earlier. Can we just remove all of Section 8 under enforcement without any of this nitty gritty stuff? With the understanding that we can still do all of the things if we wanted to. It's just without, it's just cleaning. I've seen other code of conduct documents. It really is just an aspirational document without any of this mess. I don't know.
Right,
I'm just throwing it out there.
It was written to have council be accountable to council. And if something occurs and two of us, whoever that is, decides that they want to bring a complaint to the community, to staff about another council member, they can do that.
It's also to give the community the opportunity to complain.
Yeah.
If they think a council
So if they
member-
do complain and two council members bring it up and want to agendize it, that's fine. And then we and then we could just jump to, this is what a potential meeting could look like. As long as there's 2 council members that want to put it on, and then this is what you could jump to.
That's a little different than what Councilmember Orbach is saying, because
Well, I'm fine to get rid of it altogether as well, but I don't think anybody else is in agreement to that. So
what you're saying, Councilmember Morgan, is actually in the document already, a version of what you're saying. It's in section up at the top. There's some verbiage that each member is responsible for adhering to these protocols as well as the laws that comprise the basic legal framework of local government. The council has the authority, but not the obligation, to monitor each member's adherence to these protocols and to take corrective action for violations. So that is already, that's in your current code of conduct. So if you did want to delete all of the sort of guts of it, you could keep that sort of introductory statement.
I would say as long as we kept it, there'll be equal time for the complainant and the accused.
So to go back to the question that Councilmember Orbach asked, I think we should leave Section 8 in there. You know, we've had one sort of hearing, and that, I don't want to say it didn't go well, but it was certainly complicated, and trying to have the 2 meetings and all that didn't work. I think what we're doing here eliminates a lot of that. And, you know, none of this is written in stone. And if we find that it's a problem, we can change it later on. But I don't think I'm in favor of just eliminating Section 8.
I would be willing to say that if we kept item 8, that it would also be up to the mayor. That the mayor at that time, if they thought it was something that needed to be done and it was prudent. And
It would be up to the mayor whether to agendize the complaint. What would be up to the mayor?
for the meeting,
To set the meeting schedule.
procedure. So I'm putting that out there for.
Fine with me if the mayor sets the meeting schedule.
I agree.
Okay. How about mayor sets the meeting schedule, maybe mayor and the city manager, and then it's circulated to the complainant and the subject in advance of the meeting so they can compare that.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Any issues with the bottom 2? No formal rules of evidence? Any additional information provided during the time allotted?
No questions.
Alrighty. Alrighty, and then I condense the remedies into request further investigation or information, take any of the actions listed below, or take any other action that is permitted by law. And then the actions listed below, you can dismiss, you can censure, and then I defined what a censure is. You can remove from appointments, or you can remove from boards or commissions.
Right. And I think it's good that that requires a majority of the council.
Yes. All righty. Anything outstanding? All righty. I think I'm finished.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work on it.
The next step is public comment, and then the council should, hopefully there's a motion to adopt with revisions as read by the city attorney.
Public comment.
Good evening, council and mayor. I appreciate you guys bringing this up. I think it's great that we're making some clarifications. And I think the code of conduct is actually a positive thing for the city to have. It outlines expectations of the council. I happen to be a planning commissioner as a planning commissioner. And I think it's something that I am more than happy to live by. You know, I want to commend the city manager. Recently met with some of the community members to discuss how to improve relations between the community and staff on some city issues and stuff. And the number one outline issue is transparency. This code of conduct really allows for that. And I don't want to get in an argument, but just a little bit different view is it's not about city council member to city council member. This is about our code of conduct to the public. We as public servants, planning commissioner, city council, represent our community, and we need to be above reproach on that. And I think if someone's got something they want to complain about, hey, this is the opportunity. It's only been done a few times that I'm aware of. I don't think it's been done extravagantly. I don't think it's been done out of bounds. I understand Councilmember Orbach's was very uncomfortable, but it's my understanding that it worked and it became a positive outcome of that, if I'm not wrong, that both parties did their apologies or whatever and moved on. So I think the process is there. I hope you keep it in place, and at the very least, I just ask for the transparency part. I think that's what's going to help mend our relationship with the community, is having that transparent process so the complaint doesn't come in, it's dismissed by one person and never heard again. I think it should be a public document. I think there's opportunities for those who to complain. I heard about, someone could say that they were accused of sexual harassment. If I was accused of sexual harassment as a planning commissioner, I would want my opportunity to have my day in court and explain my side publicly and not just have some underground message going through the community out there. So I just encourage you to make this public, be as transparent. However you do the details of the mayor setting the meetings, I really don't care. I just, for the community, ask that you make it a public process and that everyone can see. And if, I guess we could always relook at it if there really are complaints that are coming out of nowhere. But as far as I know, there's only been 3 or 4 times it's ever been used. Pretty familiar with a couple of myself, and I think they were valid. I don't think the process was handled correctly, and so I'm glad to see you guys doing this tonight, and I commend you for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back for deliberation and a motion.
One suggestion based on that comment that reminded me, if the mayor is the subject of the complaint, I would suggest that the vice mayor work with the city manager to set the hearing procedures.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I make a motion to adopt the revised code of conduct with the changes indicated by the city attorney and agreed on by the various council members.
I'll second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Jensen?
Aye.
Councilmember Orbach?
Aye.
Councilmember Westman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Morgan?
Aye.
And Mayor Clark?
Aye. Motion passes. That'll bring us to item G. Introduce an ordinance amending chapter 15.04 of the Capitola Municipal Code pertaining to building and fire code.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm back. I'm going to make this really brief. Every 3 years, we update our building code and the fire code. And the majority of these updates are based on making, as we learn greater efficiencies and safety standards in building, that's really what's being implemented. As part of these updates, we are getting rid of the green building code, the Capitola Green Building Code, and adopting the California Green Building Code as part of that. So that's the big update here. We also, the Central Fire is provides services for Capitola and throughout Santa Cruz County, in different areas of Santa Cruz County. We also adopt their code locally, and their goal is, in the past, they've had different codes in different areas, but it's all the same throughout. For consistency, there are minor exceptions that you can place in a code. The state has made it so it's more equalized in terms of housing review. So the one recommended change that we're keeping in our code is that we can expire permits after 180 days for inactivity. And I think that's a good policy, because if you're working away on a building, you should definitely get an inspection within 180 days. And the state allows you to go up to 1 year. So that kind of summarizes what's before you tonight. And we are asking for the introduction of the first reading. And here's your recommendation up on the screen. And if you have any questions, I'm available.
Great. Open it up to questions.
Yeah, 2 questions, Katie. With the 180 days, that's what they have in inspection during the 180, then it resets again.
Correct.
And then the last thing is, how will you be handling the implementation on, like somebody said, has a set of plans and plan review? How does the implementation work on, for them? I'm just concerned about somebody who's designing a project and they're designing it to a certain standard and the phase-in periods. I was wondering how you're going to address that.
Yeah, it takes effect on January 1st. So any new application that comes in after January 1st applies to that. Any applications that come in before January 1st, we will, for the entire review, even if we do 3 reviews of their building plan, they're under the same building code.
And I don't know if this is too much to ask, but like if there's some applicants that are talking to the city right now, are we making them aware of I'm just concerned, like if they're talking about the project, they start designing it, is there a notice that we can send out or a generic email or something that inform them?
They're very much aware, would be my response. Like the architects, this is a big deal. So it's hopefully not that big of a deal, but we do have applicants that are anticipating, making sure they get their application in before that deadline. So
Maybe just even a notice in the office, I'm just.
Yeah, I've been getting updates from people that have gone through the planning process and anticipate bringing in, just so that they're within the same code.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have no questions. I'll take it to public comment. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back for deliberation.
I can move the recommended action to introduce for first reading by title only, waiving further reading, and ordinance amending chapter 15.04 and 15.18. Do I need to read the rest of it?
I second that.
Thank you.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Brings us to item H, November 20th meeting.
Well, I have my over-under tonight at 10 o'clock, so it looks like it's within my own hands to get us done on time or late. I'm going to draw it out. I was betting the
Andrew
over.
has the floor.
I'm kidding. So November 20th, you'll recall that we've had a conversation about a presentation about city finances and city-specific projects and how we were going to get it done. A couple of meetings ago, we talked about utilizing the November 20th meeting date, regular meeting date, to do this. Staff has realized that, let's go to the next slide, please. So let's take a step back. At the meeting, council identified a number of topics and also asked staff to sort of take a look at what other big picture issues staff could identify as particularly interesting or relevant for community discussion. We included this list in the staff report. This is a tentative list. If someone has this particular input, you're more than welcome to mention it tonight or let me know between now and the meeting. Go to the next slide, please. So we talked about utilizing the regular meeting, which was November 20th. Regular meetings in our meeting code have to be held here. So if we wanted to do something different, I've talked to some council members and I've heard an interest in maybe doing it off-site, maybe doing it in New Brighton, more like a sort of town hall kind of thing. We need to amend our regular meeting schedule, cancel the meeting, and then schedule a special meeting there at New Brighton. Next slide, please. In addition, I've heard different visions. Some people have talked about more of a traditional council meeting, as we're doing right now with the council sitting at the front of the room. Others have suggested more of a town hall style meeting where, similar to what we did for the rail trail, New Brighton, kind of led by the mayor and myself, maybe introducing and doing more of the talking, and council members sitting in the audience. And there's pros and cons to either approach. So what we are looking for is feedback from the council on, do you want us to do, first off, if anyone has any changes to the list, let us know. And is the thought that we were going to do a regular meeting, do it here during our regular meeting time, or is council looking for something different at New Brighton, town hall type setup? And if so, what's the appetite for spending money to televise it, broadcast? We can't broadcast it, but get it recorded so that we could put it up on our YouTube channel, because that does cost about $3,000. I I went through that quickly. It was a little bit disjointed. I apologize. I'm available for
just-
questions.
I'll just give a couple points just off the top of my head. I do like the fact that if we hold it here, it's more accessible remotely. Given the time of year, I feel like filling up New Brighton might not really happen just because of the holiday season. That's just something that's on my mind. Whether we hold it as like a regular meeting here with us up here, I'm up to any interpretation of that. Those are just my 2 cents. Thanks.
I sort of envision this being more at New Brighton. If it was held in this room, I certainly wouldn't want us sitting up here. I'm thinking it's more an informal meeting for the community to get updates on projects that are going on. And I don't think that if it's at New Brighton, it needs to be recorded.
I think it's really important that it is recorded because this is a one-time opportunity for our community members to see everything we are doing. If we're going to put this on, it has to be recorded. So either it be here recorded or $3,000 recorded in New Brighton. I'm up for whatever, but I think it is really important that it's recorded.
I would like the venue to be at New Brighton, and I agree with the recording. I think, Jamie, you referred to it as like the state of the city. I think it'd be a great way that people could go back, who can't attend it, to go back and reflect and use as information. We could all point to it to have people go to it. So I'd say New Brighton and have it recorded.
I agree. It should be recorded, and New Brighton would be a good venue. So we need to,
We want to listen to you talk over and over again.
can we take it to public comment?
Yes.
See no public comment, we'll bring it back. Does staff have enough direction?
Yes, we have direction. We will cancel. Yes, you'll see an item on the next agenda canceling the November 20th regular meeting, and then we will schedule a special meeting in New Brighton, and we will hold it in a town hall style format, and we will make sure we get cameras on it.
So,
Yeah, on that same night.
what is the cost?
About $3,000.
It's about $3,000.
Yeah.
Can we push the start time? I think they may give us a break on the reservation. I'm not sure.
And just the timing, I think just leave it consistent at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah. Agreed.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for a long night, and it's 10:02, the end of the meeting.
Marco's always a 1 hour meeting, Joe's 4. Yeah.